The main character promises someone that he will forget about the engagement that took place before they were born. Of course, the girl will also not be called by a false title because there is absolutely no need for that anymore. The cold expression on the interlocutor's face is a little embarrassing, but not that much. The maiden thanks she finally managed to survive. It's strange that there is happiness in being rejected. Perhaps it's because getting engaged will only bring misfortune. The girl is aware only because she read the novel from beginning to end. She looks at other people on social networks thinking she would be happy like them if she lived the same way. A beauty could wear nice, clean clothes and unworn shoes, or even go to university for an education. Previously, the heroine craved things that she did not have and was constantly looking for the most pleasant ways to escape from reality. The best stories have always been those that have no literary meaning, where everything happens in the blink of a magic wand. It seemed that imagining oneself as the main character in another world would help cope with the horror in reality. I wouldn't want to leave this wonderful place even for a minute. When I opened my eyes in the morning, the first thing the beauty saw was her mother, who, hugging her daughter, asked if she was okay after the fever at night. Assuring that everything is fine, the lady realizes that for the first time, she feels truly loved, as if this were a realistic dream. Even after a few days, nothing changed. The girl remained in the same body that she saw in the mirror. It seems that the wish came true, but it was not possible to understand what happened. The mother offers the baby to rest a little more. Warm blankets and treatment that the beauty did not deserve seemed wonderful, but even sleep has a drawback. The damsel became Louise Sweeney, who is the villain in the beloved novel False Sweethearts at the Academy. The heroine was so terrible that the manga fans decided to kill her. Even the author himself could not get enough of the fact that he would soon kill the character I Want to Cry, because somehow, even in a dream, the lady is not an ordinary character. I would like to know whether it will be possible to wake up in the morning if you follow the plot that was specially written. Even if Sweeney is a blonde and a villain, unlike the main character from a rich family, if you forget that the girl is only 5, she looks amazing. No one cares at all about being a villain. Louise is in a powerful family and surrounded by loving people. If the lady can't come back to reality, maybe she needs to be kind to the others. The parents admire their little girl. The servants are also delighted because at such a young age, the girl treats those of lower status with respect and kindness. Life is literally perfect, but you need to be aware of your surroundings to avoid becoming overconfident. Sweeney is still the same villain from the novel One Wrong Move, and the beauty will again be on the path of destruction. After a while, the one who was a poor noblewoman falls in love and they vow to be together, and here begins the fall of Louise. The blonde was rejected by the crown prince to whom she had been engaged since childhood and ended up bullying the red-haired one. You need to remember one thing, and this is to never fall in love with a handsome blonde as a fan. It will be easier since you only get to watch the development of your favorite couple. Behind someone is touching the lady's back. Obviously, she is not yet used to being distant in this academy. Of course, that person was Ian Demonial Crond. He is a prince and a man you cannot fall in love with. In the novel, the man was cruel and treats Louise coldly in order to quickly end everything. The heroine bows her head. The blonde gently places his hand on his cheek, saying that he was looking forward to the day when his fiancé would enter the academy. More importantly, the beauty appears pale, as if she was seasick in a carriage jumping to the side. The lady notes that such details were difficult to remember. The girl herself made the memory unforgettable when she became completely ill, sitting next to her in the cart. While the young man insists that there is nothing to be ashamed of, Louise thinks that he was attracted to the heroine because he himself causes more problems. The young man is very handsome. You need to pull yourself together because no one wants to follow the worst path of death. The hero really just doesn't want the secret and sad past to be repeated in front of the students, and there's nothing so bad about that. It's better to control yourself so that no one sees the careless treatment of the prince. The maiden is about to leave. Now they will see each other often, but it sounds funny. Ian from the novel avoided Sweeney to date Stella. Once upon a time, the little girl was told that a person of high status would fit well with a person similar to him. This time the blonde will also avoid the boy, so now a race will begin in which they will run from each other. Unfortunately, this is where their relationship ends, but there is no point in regretting because on the contrary, it will be for the better. Now, a friend is not a problem because I would like to know where my favorite character is. In the novel, Lapis was the best student and there was a moment when she goes up on stage. This time, there will be no moment because Louise became the best. She entered the academy with the best grades, but she feels sorry for Stella. The maiden is awarded a badge, perhaps a result of a normal life as a Sweeney rather than a villain. In the hall, you can see fiery hair and a familiar face. She became the main character for a reason. She is simply wonderful. The girl is a real noble lady who did not lose her pride even after the collapse of her family. The heroine is like a treasure. Soon the couple will meet and then they will quarrel only because they love each other madly. The heart of the Scientia Academy, as you know, is the library. It contains many useful and rare publications. It's too empty inside. On the day of the entrance ceremony, it's customary to make as many useful contacts as possible. Stella is the one who ignores the best. She has always admired books the most. This is where the love from the novel will begin. From behind, someone asks what the heroine is doing here. She realizes too late whose voice is heard. The beauty blushes and doesn't know what exactly surprised her so much. The young man appeared behind her too unexpectedly. While the girl is trying to come to her senses, a friend asks if she reads the books that are on the shelf. It seems that she is interested in a similar topic. The blonde did not expect that his fiancé would stab him in the back. The girl stuttering clarifies because she no longer understands anything at all. On the shelf there was a love horoscope with advice and confessions. The prince slowly opens the publication intending to read. The princess takes the thing away. She doesn't understand why he's even with her now. When they managed to take the book, it became clear that there would be even more bullying. The girl doesn't look depressed anyway. If a man wants to help someone, he should find someone else in need. Stella is a great option. Looking around, Ian freezes, and it becomes obvious that he has fallen in love. There is no other choice. The hero stops next to the red-haired woman. The reader saw this scene in the first chapter. The blonde should speak first, but instead of something romantic, he reminds that first years are forbidden to take out more than 3 books. Louise really wants to scream to ask what he's talking about. There was a completely different dialogue in her head. Falling onto the bed, the heroine begins to think about what happened in that room. No one wants to read a completely non-romantic novel. The lady is scared to think what will happen to the world if she accidentally deviates from the plot. Her relationship with Stella must be good so that the villainess is not killed. The virgin falls asleep but opens her eyes in some dark place. She quickly remembers where she is because it is the queen's funeral. That day, the beauty met Ian for the first time. His sad look attracted attention. The trio sat in the greenhouse after the boy is indignant that Sweeney's daughter looks at him with disrespect, but anyone would do that if he was forced to read. It's not good if a person only reads when he's young. If you think about it, the lady couldn't afford anything in reality. The woman smiles, understanding why the queen promised an engagement between the two. No one has ever talked about such a thing, but the prince doesn't mind listening to the conditions. The little girl just wants it all to stop. Jumping out of bed, the blonde rushes out. This is not the time to think about the past. You need to start with more important tasks. Louise ran to the men's dormitory to see her future husband. She urgently needed to tell him something, otherwise nothing would come of it. The hallway area is a bit crowded, so best to go to another one. They ended up on a beautiful open-air balcony terrace. Leaning over the railing, the lady forces Ian to grab her by the waist. Doing something like this is extremely dangerous, so it's better to be careful. The bride must have wanted to stand in front of the railing that reached her knees and enjoy the sunset in safety. Only now the heroine noticed that the railing was indeed lower than usual, which could be a little confusing. The answer was full of sarcasm. Even so, the boy's behavior does not bring anything good. The woman can no longer play the role of his bride. Louise says something important. They must definitely break off the engagement they made before birth. The lady doesn't want to be misunderstood. If they think so immediately after the performance, she ran to the library to get a love horoscope. Ian wants to find out who the beauty fell in love with, but she denies. Words cannot be trusted because most likely it is someone from campus. Sweeney is afraid that she will be called the prince's bride. The words are really misleading. The hero promises that he will completely forget about their engagement and will not interfere with the affairs and future of the bride. A cold look does not bode well, but the heroine thanks her anyway. He sharply reminds her that this will only happen for 1 year. In a year, Ian should start dating Stella, but he said that he was not going to do anything. The lady looked too unhappy because she did not believe. The blonde didn't know that he was trusted so little, but in this case he is always ready to make a deal. If anyone wants to date, they can. But if both are not in a relationship after a year, the lady will become a bride again. In this case, Louise needs to gain courage and start dating someone. The agreement is fine without any conditions. The blonde is too worried she really doesn't like it, but in any case, nothing like that simply won't have time to happen. The terms are ultimately accepted by both. Once the engagement is recognized, no matter what happens, there will be no way to break it. Now is not the era when conditions are so cruel, but the young man still insists that the lady cannot escape from him. No matter how scary Ian is, you don't need to be so afraid of him, and you need to think more positively so that no problems arise. Near the room, a girl with dark hair is already waiting for the beauty. She asks if she is Louise. Virgo was looking for an acquaintance to perform a tradition relating to those who took first place in the academy. According to tradition, a student is required to join the student council. If a lady joins, she will not be able to become a top student next year. Council members accept letters of recommendation from professors, which greatly helps them in the future. As a future entrepreneur, this will be extremely beneficial for the beauty. The baby didn't allow a word to be inserted, running away after asking her to think carefully about everything again. Sweeney couldn't sleep from anxiety. If a lady is fully loaded, she will not have enough strength to worry about extraneous things, which will be a huge plus. Since the student council is concerned with the needs of all students, Ian will not be able to make any claims regarding this. All you have to do is do the work and watch Stella's happiness with such thoughts. The heroine went to the office. The girl came to the right place, but somehow the prince ended up there. His behavior is at odds with the character in the book. Just because the boy might be outraged by the beauty's behavior, she decides to enter the room. According to the rules of the academy, social status does not matter from the moment a person enters the gates. To be honest, just a moment ago the man was worried about flowers and thought that a good advisor had come. The blonde recoils, asking why come so close as soon as their eyes met. She flew back out the door. The heroine continues to justify herself. It is impossible to believe that the prince was mistaken, feeling blatantly ignored. The virgin was mercifully saved from a showdown with the law and even agreed to hide their relationship from others. Louise again repeats that she did not run away, but was only checking that she had come to the right place. She still has trouble finding her way around the campus. The acquaintance still thinks that the lady rushed away when she saw him standing in the office. All the blame lies with the hero because he has never before mentioned the fact that he is the president of the student council. I have to nod as the realization comes to my mind that this has already happened before in the book I happened to read. If you finally come to a common conclusion, the best option would be to proceed with the meeting, which can no longer be postponed. Ian was not supposed to be such a strong character to become president. The beauty already imagines how they will work together. The main task of the council is to help other students carry out their student duties and fill out reports on what they have done. Sometimes the meeting organizes events. The president, as usual, is not against something going better than it was originally. There is no task that could prove Louise's competence as a member of the student council. The lady needs to pass the entrance exam. All you have to do is get into the history and historian course, which according to the teacher is not a place where you can't listen. Herman Hunt is the one who will become the foreman. The program is of a high level, and in addition to all this is aimed at nurturing real scientists. The class applies directly to admission to the council. The lady must have a strong will so that she can defend her thoughts and beliefs. The virgin had no idea that in front of her was such a useless course. If only she had known, she would never have agreed. Without noticing it, the blonde has attracted attention. The teacher is angry that someone dared to chat in his lesson. Sweeney is obviously looking at his subject because she is number 1 in the student rankings. She tries to reassure him that this is not true. A man cannot teach a course to an unprepared audience, so at this rate they won't succeed at all. The professor said that was all for today and quickly left. Panic began because the lady only realized how badly she had screwed up. Hewitt vitally needs progress on the course. Everything he needs can be found in the library. The lady hoped to escape from Ian, but now she can't even crack him. A woman's voice attracts attention and offers a book. If you think about it in this episode, the lady will just fall from the bookshelf. Before the fall, Stella froze to stretch her fingers. Now she will drop the book again, unable to cope with the weight of the stack, and trying to catch it, she will stumble. The person who happens to be nearby, that is Ian, will save his future beloved. Something definitely did not go as planned because the beauty ended up on Sweeney. The moment the maiden's hair began to develop, the friend had no time to think. The body began to move on its own, and she stretched out her arms to catch the woman. The red-haired woman worriedly asks the lady if she is okay, and she nods, although in fact literally every bone in her body aches terribly. The president appears from around the corner, to whom the blonde shouts, asking why he came. Only now the main character missed the moment and left the heroine's rescue to the villainess. The man apologizes, but it is not clear why he is the main character and should not say such things to Louise instead of the future love of his life. The blonde asks if the lady can stand up on her own, and she nods weakly. First, she should lean on her friend so that he can help her get to the first aid station. The virgin assures that she will get there on her own, but at the first attempt to get up, she screams in pain. There is no choice left. The friend gently touches her shoulder, saying that everything happened only because of her. Louise cannot believe that she made Stella say that. Something is wrong because just now the hero was cold towards his future lover. Even if they are not dating yet, they should have fallen in love when they met. The lady is sure that she just likes it, and in fact everything is fine. Their meeting will definitely happen in this world. The man picks up his girlfriend and asks if she is okay. The situation and whispers from other students make her insides clench. The hero assures that everything is fine. He will not let rumors about the situation in the library spread, so there is no point in worrying too much. There was no doctor on site. The president asked to lie down and grabbed some rolled-up towel. It's definitely worth waiting for the main thing since professional advice is needed, but the young man thought that first he should put something cold on it. The pain in her back intensifies, so the heroine nods and lifting her shirt lies down. The ice turned out to be too cold. The numbness is not felt because of the ice, but you still need to wait until things get better, and until you can find a doctor. The lady had no choice in the library because a friend arrived later than expected. The hero does not know if he can look Madame Sweeney in the eyes after her daughter got hurt. A woman is resting. She can't help but admit that it's quite nice when someone takes care of you, whether out of concern or friendship. It's nice that the boy behaves like this in the past. The lady didn't have such luxury. She remembers how she came to meet him, saying that she was honored. The bride began to worry because the guy's acquaintance did not answer. She is angry at the nickname, which is considered trivial. The brunette finally introduced himself. His name is Simon Hillard, and of course they were both very pleased to meet each other. The maiden handed over a beautiful flower that means something. It is better to keep it a secret from His Highness, because he can be easily offended by how things turn out. Opening her eyes in the ward, the lady tries to blink. The same image of that person is still standing in front of her face. The beauty returned to the library very soon. Stella asks if she is okay because she heard about numerous injuries. The heroine was really very worried. She couldn't get what happened out of her head. Louise can breathe a sigh of relief because everything is fine. Sweeney, when she was a villain, tripped Stella, and when she held hot drinks in her hands, she tried to do this more often. The woman also injured her opponent with scissors and even used her money to attract other students and professors to cover herself. No matter how you looked at it, the girl was indeed an extremely evil embodiment of herself. The blonde was not going to live like that, so she should focus on normal student life. Changing the topic, the heroine asks about the book, Notes of Time. Professor Hughes ordered to read the publication by next week. Copies of the required book have already been sorted out. Stella also cannot say where the first edition is because it is confidential. I felt uneasy, but it's worth showing understanding. When a copy falls into the hands of a beauty, she must definitely get it. They have not seen Simon for a long time, and the image again appears in front of his face. Such was his expression in the dream. It seems that this is not reality again, but in front of the girl there really is a brunette who calls Louise by name. Hillard is Ian's cousin and the only son of the Emperor's younger brother. Being the same age as the Crown Prince, he created rivalry by his very existence. For this very reason, the hero tried to remain in the shadows in order to avoid conflict and any problems. The blonde compliments him, saying that his friend has grown. He seems to be trying to find the words before saying anything out loud. It turns out that the boy is going to give away his book. The main character helpfully offers to check how much is left before the due date. The first meeting of the future lovers again failed, but one can only hope that there is nothing wrong with this. The maiden extends her hand to receive the coveted publication. It didn't seem that the man knew how to joke. This was not a joke but a rule, and he should be addressed as Hillard. The situation is more complicated than with the president, because my friend has always been straightforward. The local order is exactly the same as usual. The rumor that the lady was injured spread too quickly. The girl tries to assure that nothing hurts her anymore. His Highness has made a big deal out of a mountain, but it is not clear why he behaves this way. Obviously, he is just worried. The heroine can tell everything that worries her. They decided to postpone the conditional marriage with the prince or postpone it for a year. An acquaintance asked us to take a little time. They would be heading to a beautiful place that they should like. Simon was not mistaken because the greenhouse is simply breathtaking, making you think about the best. You don't want to leave such a place at all. Hillard promises that he will return soon, immediately after making tea. The Virgin was so thinking about the similarities with the original that she did not notice how the door opened and someone unfamiliar entered. The couple was scared of each other, so the man with glasses accidentally dropped the book right on his foot. The publication turned out to be nothing more than a book about plants by Dr. Rogers. The girl had previously read this in her father's library. Dr. Rogers was an artist, adventurer, and scientist the world has never seen before. All of his knowledge is shown on the pages. The lady apologizes for getting carried away, but this was one of her favorite books. The hero knows that she is the best student of the year, so she nods. A professor of biological sciences cannot help but know the Sweeney family. It is quite difficult not to notice such an amazing greenhouse. Getting up, the hero introduces himself as Wayne Hill. He is the same genius who at the age of 23 became a professor at the academy. The couple says goodbye, and Simon sits down at the table. It seems as if the heroine is home again. No one would have thought that there would be such a great place there. The boy probably remembers how a long time ago he was given a lily-of-the-valley flower. His friend had a dream about it yesterday, and she confesses. In the dream, when the lady gave the flower, she could not hear what the hero said. Perhaps he himself remembers what he said then. The young man wanted to make a bookmark. Then the blonde asked to hide this fact from His Majesty so that he would not get angry. The girl will never know how Simon felt and how he tried to control his feelings after the gift. All because of the line that he cannot cross, because it is very dear to another person. Hillard promised to treasure the gift. The phrase alone contained so much genuine sincerity and innocence that nothing would have come of it. After the tea party, only good things happened. Lessons in daily life were interesting, and the lady became responsible for the design for the upcoming freshers' party. The best thing was that there was no reason to meet Ian. Today was supposed to be a good day too, until the moment the president appeared in front of the lady. The hero came early precisely because of his work. Now that Louise has arrived, she definitely needs to do her job. A lot of flowers are visible. The girl, as a daughter of the Sweeney house, was supposed to become the main flower grower of the kingdom. From now on, the fate of her family is in the hands of the girl the blonde wants to trust and leave everything as it should be. The girl actively agrees. She also wants to inherit her father's greenhouse and live her life in peace and quiet. The level is high enough for the father to retire comfortably, yet the scale of the party in the capital is apparently just that. The president returned, but the woman behind him is Larson. In the novella, she, sympathizing with the zeal of Stella's house, helped her to be reborn. Juliana is extremely meticulous. The room is beautifully decorated, and so the professor nods in approval. The best student of the year is Louise Larson, chuckles because she thought she already remembered all the beautiful ladies who had recently entered high society. Apparently Sweeney had not attended a party before. Of course, events at the academy are open to every needy soul who so desires, but only if the formalities are properly followed. Ian comes to the aid of his friend in this place. The rules of high society do not apply so much. If we are talking about rules, this only means that the professor is also obliged to obey them without exception. While the president is making a speech, the blonde interrupts him. She does not see the importance of this because Larson was right. With one glance, the girl asks to be silent, and then saying goodbye, she quickly leaves the door. When the lady was little, she never understood why her parents insisted on debuting in high society. Now the girl seemed to understand that if she wore this dress and stood in front of everyone, she would look beautiful. If the lady could see this with her own eyes, she would be truly happy. Her friend reassures the blonde she knew that Larson was obsessed with the aristocracy, but did not know that she was so obsessed. Dean Critus is the one who makes sure the lady is not going anywhere. He is a first-year student like the others and a member of the council. Everyone on the council thinks it's right for the beauty to be at the party. They prepared everything together so nothing will happen. The president then also got angry. Perhaps the fact is that her behavior brought back unpleasant memories. It was aristocrats like her who were behind all the difficulties and discrimination against the Empress with simple blood. At the Academy, personal qualities are valued. The brunette literally begs to enjoy the evening to the fullest. The girl agrees and quickly sees off her friends. She has a lot of books to read, so everything turned out well. Today the lady plans to relax and read. The weather is great outside, so you can't imagine better conditions. If you think about it in the novella, Stella did not prepare the dress, which added to her problems. The blonde still has nowhere to wear hers, so she sincerely wants to help. At first, the friend does not believe the offer. Louise also needs a dress. However, as it turns out, she had no plans to go anywhere but instead wants to read. The girl will be more than happy to help the main character. The red-haired girl lowers her gaze and timidly thanks for the help provided. Along with the outfit, Lapis will be able to go to a party without any problems, where she will have the opportunity to spend more time with Ian. Even from the room, the lady hears the noise from the hall. Everyone is having fun, and she is extremely curious if anyone is smiling when they see the flowers that she has placed. The blonde never wanted to go to the party, but now she seems to understand Cinderella's feelings, which means that Larson is the evil stepmother. It's strange to realize, but with Stella, she is a fairy godmother, and in front of Louise, she is a person with a bad character who behaves like this. Even if the friend is a poor aristocrat, she is a descendant of a noble family with a long history and the main character. The reason why the professor is helping seems obvious. The lady will no longer have to worry if Stella and Ian are together. If you stick to the little things, the path of the villain is possible. The Virgin went out into the street and just noticed a friend who was in a desperate hurry just now because of her dress. With horror, the heroine realizes that the girl was not wearing her dress. I would like to believe that she got to the party safely. In order not to appear to those who behaved inappropriately, the beauty smiled, thinking that the attire was even better than what she had. The president knew that his friend was in the garden. She did not immediately notice him, so she was even a little scared. The man carefully wipes away the tears that seem to have accumulated unnoticed, trying to joke. The girl asks if they were really worried about her. As it turned out, they really cared about her. It was thought that she might even cry because of injustice. Nothing happened that proved the bride's forbearance. He just used that nickname again. It seems that further words hint at an invitation to dance. The blonde asks never to do this so that no one sees them. The maiden has one request. When Ian meets Madame Sweeney during the holidays, he must say that her daughter danced well. Not going to lie, the hero offers to say this only if the lady dances just as great now. Despite the fact that the heroine knew that she should not extend her hand at that moment, she was enchanted by the moonlight. There was no such scene in the original, but in order not to lose heart, the lady is going to dance to the bitter end. The man easily found out where the bride would be. He suggested that there were two places she could go. In the greenhouse, the president ran into Simon, who said that he was showing Louise the place. Saying this, the blonde again feels uncomfortable because he is not called by name. Sharply throwing the beauty back a little, the hero says that he would like such compliments to be given to a dance teacher. The young man has changed a lot since he was a small child. If he treated the lady as well, she would compliment him too. Virgo is already an adult and must understand why everything happened, namely because of embarrassment. There is nothing like that. The dance is over. Stepping back, the girl lights up with scarlet paint. She must not forget who she is in this short story. We must not let our guard down under any circumstances. It's time to return to the hall because many students want to pick up the flowers that were used to decorate the hall. The president held talks with Mrs. Larson, which is why the heroine will be very busy starting tomorrow. The students who received the flower pots have no idea how to care for them. If they just put them up, everything will wither in a few days. The girl begins to build a plan to help. If Louise does so much, then the others will learn more about Louise Sweeney. All that remains is to thank her. A man can do anything for the sake of his bride. Ian's name appeared on the list. The girl knocked on his office to find out how this even happened. This time, the boy fell asleep and has not yet woken up as expected. He learned how to care for flowers from Louise's father. The hero wakes up abruptly, grabbing the lady by the waist as she was about to quickly leave the room. The blonde was almost upset when he realized that the lady was going to run away from him. Partners never act so badly. Leaning against his shoulder, the hero asks in a languid voice not to go anywhere. The lady would like to understand what's wrong with him, but it's more of a mystery. To change the topic from the one that was unfavorable, the girl first asks why the president's name is on the list. Sitting together like this, the hero remembers the times when they were little and the three of them fell asleep together on the grass for the first time. The girl is asked to close her eyes since it's time for the guy to get dressed. He turns away. The eyes did not close on their own, so now I have to make excuses saying that everything happened too unexpectedly. The hero saw everything, but there is no point in it again. I want to ask myself what she even forgot in this place. The guy laughs, saying that now Louise has decided on his apparent purity, it would be better to turn back time so that it all ends. Sweeney went to work. The first was one student who received flowers as a gift from her dance partner. There was already news that the president was dancing with someone at the party. The blonde hopes that no one noticed her. The lady assures that this is the first time she has heard about something like this and turns away to hide her blush. Some people were really interested in something like this. Suddenly, they ask if Stella Lapis was taught how to care for flowers too. This is not at all what it should have been. As it turned out, the friend was the first to invite the girl to dance in front of everyone and was with her until the end. A friend chirps about how harmonious the couple looks and that perhaps they have an appointment. Because of the shock, the beauty accidentally knocked over the flowers and cut herself on a vase. The physical pain was incomparable to the mental pain. The girl accidentally missed the main event of the story, but is glad that everything is getting better. Ian and Stella love each other, and this is the main law. For some reason, only terrible feelings remain inside the girl, forces herself to gather her thoughts because everything is going exactly as she hoped. Judging by the fact that the lady cannot restrain herself, her villainous instincts take over, and this does not change anything. Unfortunately, to add to all the problems, the lady missed the chance to watch the two dance romantically in what must have been a beautiful scene. I want to cry, so that God will allow me to see at least one more event in this story, which can really be important. Going out into the corridor, the heroine immediately hides because she noticed Stella and Ian. She is wondering what exactly they are talking about. The blonde still notices his friend asking what she forgot there. She didn't want to interrupt the conversation and waited until it was all over to leave. The words come out on their own, so somehow everything led to strawberries. You just want to shut up and run away. Lapis notices that her friend is really kind, but she is not sure if strawberries are as good. For some reason, the description sounded as if the fruit had already gone bad, and it turned out that the lady had never seen anything else. If you take a berry straight from the field, it is easy to crush it. Accidentally, and not intentionally, the heroine did it in such a way that she embarrassed her friend in front of Ian. The princess promises to share fresh strawberries with Stella too. She wants to finally be able to try something fresh. In fact, you can always give food to the president so that he and his beloved can share the meal. Now it's time to go. The lady should do something in the library while the others can enjoy the conversation. Under no circumstances should Stella be hurt again. She should feel good and not like this usually happens. Louise is always very kind and, according to the red-haired one, she will be loved by everyone. The prince is more skeptical because he believes that she will always be used. If you think about it, then now, the one who is not behaving as he should is the blonde, but he reminds that the girl is only for him. The interlocutor freezes, not understanding what was just said. The hero meant that Louise and the rest of the council members are his people. Lapis must know the feeling of what it is like when someone else tries to use a person looking for all sorts of gain in him. Anyone who behaves like this does not deserve better in any case. Now the hero did not even try to talk about the bride. The heroine is worried about the rumors that spread after that dance. She did not think that a secret meeting in the library would only worsen the situation. Several days passed, and judging by the professor's predictions, it would rain in the evening, so the detachment arrived to help. The girl is collecting strawberries in a basket, turning to Simon. She is surprised that he was well aware of all this. This morning, the hero was leaving the library and saw Wayne. He offered his help because he owed money for the greenhouse. The man did not expect Sweeney to be there. The lady didn't expect to be tasked with digging in the dirt. Perhaps she should take work clothes along with her uniform. We are talking about the same blue set with the inscription of the family during the holidays. The girl is going to bring it and can grab the same one for a friend. Ian is not even in question. The president, as we know, does not need clothes of this kind, so we can forget about it. The shadow takes the light from the blonde. He thinks about something, forgetting the words that he must have wanted to say recently. When a brunette looks at an acquaintance, he feels guilty. He needs to know his place and not allow anyone to see hope in him. Attracting attention will be a mistaken activity because in this way Louise may lose her light. It started to rain, and what the heroine thinks about is how relieved it is that they managed to finish the task. The lady must share the harvest, but she has been working since the morning and now wants to sleep. There was not much left before the lesson, but it seems that time flew by. The heroine was found by Ian, who did not understand what happened to put her in such a state. Stretching out his hand, the blonde intends to take the temperature, but is met with a smile from the beauty which makes him blush like a tomato. Waking up, the lady stretches. She doesn't understand why everything is still so quiet, but a voice nearby says that it's all over. It doesn't matter what happened before, because now the president wants to find out what happened. Louise was picking strawberries and even managed to get them before the rain. If a man shares the berries with someone he likes, the man will be happy. If this is true, then the hero needs to hurry to give the food to the one with whom he would like to share it. He must not hesitate under any circumstances. The hero came to Dean saying that he liked him. There was no choice because this is a kind of strawberry, and Louise said to do something similar. Then the berries were offered to others with the same words that were said a little earlier. Half an hour later, there was only one strawberry left in the basket. Sweeney is outraged by the fact that she made an effort to make the boy behave like this now. The guy looks at the beauty suspiciously for a long time, and she decides to say that she also likes strawberries, at which time the blonde thanks Louise. I want to scream with embarrassment deep down. The lady hopes that she will be understood correctly and that no problems as such will arise. In order not to slow down the situation, the handsome man thanks for sharing with him. If the girl is going to the hostel, it is quite possible to see her off. It's raining outside, so the only thing left to do is borrow an umbrella from someone. This person could be the president, so the couple hits the road. People approach the guy and thank him for the treat. He can't help but be popular, even though in the book Ian despised any attention in his direction. Everything was a long time ago, and especially since there was never a choice as such, everything became clear only thanks to Sweeney alone. The maiden, whom the heroine no longer remembers well, had many complaints about life. She had nothing, so she could only envy the others. The blonde smiles happily. She certainly has no reason to complain since she is surrounded by only the best people with the best support they provide. Now everyone is trying to hide from the rain. We can only hope that no one will pay attention to how close the couple is walking along the corridor. The beauty quickly runs out from under the umbrella, as expected from the president, who strives to help every student. He did everything in his power. Within a second, bad luck smiled because the woman slipped in a puddle. She does everything possible to avoid rumors, but still, something goes wrong. The guy picks up the lady at the last moment. Now he can scold her, but she makes the excuse that she didn't even know anything. The beauty's ankle is fine, but she should be careful given how little time has passed since the injury in the library when her friend fell down the stairs. There are people whispering around, but in reality this is not so important because the rumors around Ian and Stella are already enough to cover the situation. Like an acquaintance, the heroine gives some valuable advice about the need to wash things, and then turns around. The lady quickly freezes from the silence that presses on her ears. Perhaps she shouldn't have said something like that out loud. The blonde exhales with complete calm to say that he has no feelings for Stella. He thought that she would understand this at least now. The president could not know that Sweeney was so interested in his personal life. She knows that the picture before her eyes is not always complete. A lady should never believe in something that can be called untrue. She should never surrender to such things. The guy would like to know why they are trying so hard to push him away. It is not surprising that he is angry with his beloved, because these feelings are not unnecessary. It was stupid of the beauty to accept something as truth without talking to the president. It's even worse when something happens between friends. The blonde nods as a sign that he understands he really values the girl as family. The couple separates because they both could use some sleep. The woman does not believe that the main character is not in love with Stella. If the man does not like her, then he should not have danced with her. Depending on the season, different flowers and fruits will grow to become the beautiful backdrop of their love. Even the weather will be magnificent without their feelings. The world will have no meaning. During exams at the academy, there is a belief that if you buy paper and ink from the student council, the student will write everything well. Hesse, whom the girl had met earlier, appeared in the room. He nicknamed her Louise from the greenhouse behind her back. The man heard that His Highness was abandoned by the lady. As soon as the introduction ended, the prince finally knew what it was like. The next destination was a shopping street. The president and his girlfriend went there to buy something. The blonde is wearing a cloak with a hood. If they are recognized, there will be no problems, so this is the only way left. A wizard who goes around with an apprentice will become strange, so the wizard needs a mistress with a bad character. You end up with an expensive dress in your hands. You don't need to worry about the cost, because the prince still wanted to give something for the admission. The heroine tried to avoid such colors. The friend remembered that the friend usually does not wear such clothes, but she assures that everything is in perfect order. The maiden came in to change clothes. For some reason, there were buttons on the back. Obviously, if a person wears such a dress, there must be someone who could help put it on. When the clothes are finished, the hero asks to open the door, since he brought several pairs of shoes in color and shape that suit. Virgo, blushing, talks about buttons, quickly understanding everything. The blonde begins to apologize for choosing the option that caused some difficulties. The next request is to step back a little so that the friend can come inside. They walk together as friends, and such an argument helps to reduce the experience to no. In just a few seconds, the clasps were in the loops, and the president's face flushed bright red from the beauty of his former bride. Of course, one cannot miss the chance to say how well the outfit suits the beauty. She thanks, although she knows that the black color still brings her strange sensations associated with the villainous. The next thing in the shopping area, the couple was going to buy gloves for agriculture. The lady knows the most about soil and plants, so these are for her. When asked by the seller, the hero sincerely said that his magical abilities are not very good, so he must use his body for labor, so that his mistress does not abandon him. Virgo really doesn't want to behave like a villain, but in order to play along, she steps over herself, starting to scream, and the next thing she hears is an apology. In order not to disappoint the hostess, the boy should stop fooling around. Precious time should not be wasted like that. This is completely wrong. When Louise screamed, she noticed similarities with the original. Her friend got goosebumps, but overall, everything was fine, even if the lady sincerely asks not to say that. The next thing the couple did was go to other stores, of course. The role of evil continued there, but as they say, no one was given a choice. After a cup of tea, everything became much better. You can immediately return. Even though the lady has no strength left, the exams are close. You need to prepare for them. The man never saw Hesse, but his magic is to protect the prince from afar. It would be nice to treat him with a cup of tea, but nothing came of it. Louise is abruptly hidden under the table. For some reason, Professor Larson was in the café. The maid offered to sit down, but she said that the meeting would begin soon. You will have to wait, since the exit needs to be found through the girls' table. Perhaps someone else from the academy or a family member with whom the meeting will come. The couple sits too close, which for a moment even makes them feel a little uncomfortable. The girl tries to move away a little. It seems that Larson was about to leave, but that was not the case. A rude voice tells Professor Wayne Hill that he was late by a full 3 minutes, which is not applicable in this situation. Punctuality is the most important quality of a teacher, because in this way you can forever remain a student who will not be given anything. Sitting and hiding begins to get boring, but not everything is so bad, because in fact it is important to hear the conversation to the last remark in order to be aware of the situation. There is no need to worry, after all teachers are also ordinary people, just with privileges that academy students do not have. Something still haunts Louise, because there is always a feeling as if she is the main character of this novel, instead of Stella, who was thrown away. Half an hour of conversation passed, which seemed to be about nothing. Most likely they still had to wait to leave, but the couple was lucky that in the end no one noticed them. Lucky that there was a cloak that hid in the shadows despite the whole situation. The blonde smiles, and her cheerful face shows all spectrums of emotions. Looking at all this only now, the prince realized how much color and emotion the girl has. He gently kisses her on the forehead, saying that he doesn't need gratitude. Something was wrong that day, and it all started a little earlier. The woman was crying, asking the queen why she left them so early. There were rumors around that the funeral was so miserable since the queen was a commoner. That day, the little girl handed a handkerchief to the prince, who was trying not to cry. His Highness was angry, but he was told that he could always cry. There was nothing wrong with showing emotions, so he should just use a handkerchief. From the very day Louise appeared, she gradually brightened the gray life of the man who wanted it. For some reason, the lady still avoided her gaze. The young man liked to follow her. In the end, the hero wants to look only at this lady, but it seems that this is an impossible mission. She recoils when she feels another touch. Since that day, Sweeney has been avoiding Ian. There is one unspoken rule that the guy must be avoided at all costs. There are still too many questions in his head. Now everything is not going according to the plot, but it is not clear when it went wrong. The Virgin cannot do anything about the fact that she is attracted to the president. She needs to focus on her studies. Finding Professor Hewitt's notes is much more difficult. Another student said that he had nothing returning to his room. The lady met Simon there. The woman was afraid of the dark, but she felt better as soon as she saw a friend standing nearby. He was holding out some kind of book in a dark cover. The guy is a good friend because he came to the rescue when the lady was looking for the notes she needed. He is an excellent assistant, and from joy you want to hug him as much as you can. Saying goodbye, the hero goes up the stairs to Ian, who again asks for forgiveness for the strange request to hand over papers to his ex-fiancée. Simon took this course last semester and took notes to ensure that the lectures contained only the most important information. He made it much easier, so it is worth expressing gratitude. Unfortunately, the girl was unable to find everything she needed on time and did not find the guy himself. She even went to the strawberry greenhouse, but there was nothing there either. The lady met Ian on the balcony. She urgently needed to thank her friend for sharing his notes with her, thereby providing a favor. Most likely the brunette is in the room, but for some reason the lady also came into this place. If Hillard brought it, then the president wrote, which became obvious. The hero hesitated because he was sure that he had perfectly forged the handwriting. Louise assures that this is true, but she just knew that it was him and no one else. The blonde is sincerely glad that he was able to help his friend. He regrets what happened because for a second he forgot about all the boundaries that need to be respected. The hero also looks away, but the beauty smiles joyfully, saying that they can look into each other's eyes without this unnecessary embarrassment. The hand squeezes the palm of a friend. There is no point in being ashamed of your manifestations of feelings, even if they somehow flow into a kind of friendship. The level of tolerance has been increased, and we are talking about the permissible distance. If the couple sets boundaries, then perhaps something will change very soon. The guy doesn't waste a moment and moves Sweeney closer, grabbing her hand. She herself said that this was normal, but it just happened too suddenly. Having switched places, the heroes continued their discussions. If the lady wants the blonde not to touch somewhere else, she can stop it in advance. Besides this, we are talking about touching the face. Louise cannot make a mistake, and here she should be extremely careful so as not to fall into her own trap, which was set so quickly. The blonde is the main male character, and it is too easy for him to charm anyone, so there is no point in trying to succumb to the charms, much less against his will. Louise declares that there was a mistake, but her face has noticeably reddened, which there is no way to get rid of. The president asks for forgiveness for what happened. The guy's hair is beautiful, but everything went after his mother. Sometimes he wonders if the maiden was happy in the palace where she was rejected by everyone except her husband and son. Her only entertainment was writing letters to her mother. The girl was successful in the academy, but in the palace she could not use her mind properly. If a guy needed a wife, he would wait patiently until she made a decision. A person must have principles, but in this case, it is better for the hero to keep his hands to himself and not spread them to other people who do not like it. Once the lady responds, she will always be there and will be in happiness and respect even if it goes against the destiny ordained by God. Even God cannot interfere with who needs to be with whom because people are ultimately responsible for this. There is some truth in the words that are spoken. The lady felt much better after the conversation, so everything has its advantages. Now you can concentrate on the test that will take place with peace of mind. Since both Professor Hill and Simon also picked the strawberries, the maiden is going to leave the jam in the greenhouse so that everyone can try at least a little. The rest will be given to Stella. The beauty has long wanted to do this, but she's a little late. She opens the door to the room. The professor appeared right in front of the heroine. He looks a little nervous, but he also needed to ask Sweeney something that did not require delay. The man asks what Miss was doing in the tea shop this weekend. The girl justifies it by buying ink, and then she came in for something cool to drink. The lady cannot say that the president was sitting next to her because they were almost hugging, sitting next to each other, a millimeter from each other. In fact, the professor has nothing against it, but is just worried that the wizard is so close to the students. Miss Sweeney is smart, so she won't make a mistake. There is no need to worry because the hero, after all, has nothing to do with magic. The professor clarifies for the last time to be more aware of what is happening. The Larson family really values talent, so they help students, which is great because those sponsored by the Countess are always the best on the list. In any case, bad things won't happen. The hero needs to say something not as a teacher, but as someone who graduated from the academy a long time ago and left everything in the past. The sponsorship goals are quite strange. They make sure that their student is at the top this year. The one who was chosen was none other than Stella. The man is like a doll created by Larson. He was recently outraged by the fact that they wanted to complicate the test. Other students simply may not pass. The woman assures that there is nothing to worry about. The Count has always sponsored the academy, and Killy's psychology professor was laid off last semester. They ask from the house, and not just from one person. The young man is still trying to object, even if he understands perfectly well that it is better not to do such a thing. Frankly, the best thing to do is follow your convictions and support the academy as much as possible while you still have the opportunity. Louise must fail, and this is the only condition. Unfortunately, the young man cannot tell too much, but he definitely needs to be on his guard. In the original, Stella seemed like a completely different person. The girl was watching her from afar, thinking about what she should do next, given the situation. The beauty calls her friend because she just needed to give her the jam, and she runs away as if she had heard nothing at all. The heroine wanted to become the best student because she was the last chance of the Lapis family when Sweeney became the best. It was a huge shock. Larson had been at the academy since the time when the king was crown prince. Then the woman could not even imagine that His Majesty would choose a dirty man. As a professor, the brunette should have warned the student even earlier, but she didn't. Everyone should have their own place, so the lady hopes that Stella will not forget about this. Hessa is about to go somewhere. They have already returned from the dungeon, in which a cake the size of a person lives. The man did not plan anything like this, so there is nothing wrong with a chance meeting. Sweeney would remain by the redhead's side as the prince turned around to let his friends know that he was leaving. A proper apology would be made tomorrow. The blonde stops His Highness and, looking straight into his eyes, congratulates him on his birthday. She wanted to say this from the very beginning of the day. Previously, the girl was smart and sweet, but now it seems that she is seriously avoiding the man. Before it would have been possible to laugh, but now everything is different. Perhaps because of what happened, the young man had that same dream. It is not clear how many years have passed since he celebrated his birthday in the palace. The girl was chosen because she is an excellent student with a good reputation. She, as a representative, is allowed to go to the president's birthday. Since a friend is the main one, he needs a deputy. And for some time, this will be his childhood friend. On the day of the party, the lady has exams, but the banquet will only be at night, so this is just an excuse. The hero quietly asks if it's true that her friend doesn't want to go to him so much. Everything about Simon is also veiled because he won't come. The only one who can be nearby is Sweeney. Hillard was known to dislike going to crowded places, and his desire to make friends could be mistaken for seeking support for the position of crown prince. Still reluctantly agreeing, the lady clarifies about the gift. Krond feels like a child, but in fact, this question is one of the most difficult. The hero just wants a letter written from a friend. This would be the best option, but the lady is not sure that she can write something like that. Stella, as it turns out, is also going to the crown prince's party. She only went there because she was invited a little earlier. The blonde is sincerely happy about this turn of events. Now she will be able to see the very moment that she missed at the last party. The conversation comes up about exams, and it seems that Louise will again be at the very top. Unfortunately, these grades no longer belong to the main character as they should have been. The girl changes the subject because she sees a sad look. The girl seems to have already decided on a gift, and a letter would be the best option. You need to suggest options. Now, you can't say that Sweeney is a villain after Ian receives a gift from Stella. He will truly fall in love with her, and this will be a good thing. There was certainly no thought that the letter would be more difficult than the exams. The girl writes something about changes and her attitude towards the guy. She blushes because it would be unnecessary to talk about her feelings on such a special day. It's not very polite to talk about something like that, but it's still kind of childish. Just before the exam, the beauty found her friend on the table resting. She did not immediately see Louise because of the bruises and sleepiness. The forehead is hot, which means heat. It's a pity that all this is for the sake of meeting the professor's expectations after the exam. She was going to the infirmary. The girl asks to describe her feelings so that she can go and get some necessary medicines. She is well prepared, so nothing will happen if she is late. It doesn't smell like vanity, but if you don't say this, the worries won't go away. All the beauty wants to know is when the temperature rose. A few minutes later, the girl was already back. Stella should drink everything at once to make it a little easier. The exam has begun. Luck is on the lady's side because she expected such questions. Considering that Juliana composed them, this is really luck. There was a piece of paper on the floor. It seems that it belongs to Lapis, but something needs to be done so that the professor does not notice Larson may be misunderstanding the situation. The blonde cannot sit still, so she reaches forward, picking up the little thing, and the Countess appears behind her, asking in a stern voice what Louise is hiding. Virgo immediately convinces the professor that she can explain everything easily. There has been a terrible misunderstanding that must be overlooked. Picking up the piece of paper, the lady chuckles, saying how interesting it is. Louise found this little thing, and it has a direct bearing on the exams. The handwriting is not blonde, so the lady starts asking everyone, I can't believe that Stella will be punished, or perhaps she will help with getting out. Lapis is friendly and helps everyone since she is the main character, but something went wrong because the woman looks closely and then says that the paper does not belong to her. They want to confiscate the bag, but there is a letter to the president, so the girl grabs the thing and then she is sharply hit right on the cheek. You should be ashamed of your shameless behavior, which cannot be filtered and which only makes the situation worse. Even though the parents, brother and sister, have a noble title, they are on the same level as the poor. Only Stella stood out in this family. Beautiful hair, a perfect face, and figure were different. After the maiden realized her advantages, it became easier for her to receive the love she deserved. Juliana called into her office to say that the lady had the honor of doing something worthy. She would become a sponsored student this year. Previously, no one had ever helped, so there was only joy, not only wreaths, but also the attitude of professors, and even connections gradually disappeared. Virgo spent days hearing rumors about Sweeney's new student, who was next to the prince, and was also one of the best in the academy. Stella, of course, did not like the outcome of the situation that had developed. She could not understand why someone dared to interfere in her precious life. The president was told about the flower auction that would be held. There was one sponsored student there. Larson recalled that the girl needs pleasant memories of the academy. The man, like the best, knows how to create good conditions for the girl. Here, the couple is spinning in a dance. Envious glances always followed the beauty, but she assured herself that she could cope with everything. In order for the family to be proud, you just need to use Ian. Now the heroine confidently says that the cheat sheet does not belong to her. Louise should not interfere with her. Louise simply has to fall to the bottom of the hole. The girl wants it to be filled with terrible creatures, and if she falls there, she will probably never get out. Larson again remembers that the heroine took first place in the entrance exam, and before that, there were good results which must again be the result of cheating. The girl repeats that the note was already on the floor. If everything had been like that, the lady would have raised her hand to inform, but she didn't even think to do this. They tried to take the bag back in order to destroy all the evidence, but at the end of the cigarette butts, the contents were exactly such that one should be glad that it was all over. In fact, everything is completely wrong, and this does not change the essence. The blonde desperately asks you to ask her about anything because she can answer any question. There is no time for evidence, so objective words are needed. Something needs to be decided right now because it will be for the better. The dean is going to a banquet in the palace in 2 days. Louise will not be suitable, so you need to quickly choose a new assistant deputy. You don't have to worry because there is still a sponsored Stella. Larson will be present at the meeting that will decide the girl's situation. She hopes that during this time she will be able to properly think about her behavior. The beauty wants to cry because she doesn't understand why Lapis did this to her. She herself dropped the note and repaid the help with horror in reality. Despite the grades, there was no need to save the red-haired one. The dream of becoming a good Louise is not that bad, but it is slowly dissipating in the wind. Juliana looks at Stella, who nods. Once she hears that the plan has gone as planned, the creature is finished, and she will not stand in the way. Now the girl is the only hope. She should not give up her place to some bitch who doesn't even know the subject properly. Now is not the time to muddy the waters, and therefore it would be wrong to screw up the meeting is over, since it is necessary to prepare for the banquet. The heroine leaves the office and immediately bumps into Simon. Deep down in her heart, she hopes that the guy didn't hear anything from the conversation. The girl didn't do anything wrong. She shouldn't give up her seat to some bitch who doesn't even know the subject properly, which makes the situation worse. There's no point in envying Louise because now she will fall to the very bottom, and then everything will finally be over, and nothing can be changed. The blonde was surrounded by rumors and gossip that she had done something terrible, and that such a person should not be near a precious president like a man. The door opens, and the lady hopes that the meeting is already over. The guard is surprised that the student is sitting in the office at such a late time. The professor said to wait for her there, but in the end, something went completely wrong. Larson, as it turned out, had left on a business trip in the evening. The girl nodded and went to the dormitory. Perhaps Ian is not like everyone else and will believe it, but no one knows what will happen if this does not happen. It cannot be that the man will come back to ask everything because today is his birthday. The maiden heard that this time it is a politically important event. Louise came to his room to knock. She blames herself for her stupidity because of course the boy will not be inside the room. In the original, the beauty always distracted Kron from his direct duties with all sorts of unnecessary and unimportant trifles. A solution needs to be found, and preferably urgently. The girl is obliged to restore justice in order to inherit the business and become happy in the future. The heroine is no longer sure whether this is really what she wanted so badly in this world. The door opens and the couple looks into each other's eyes in a split second. The man is already tightly hugging his future wife to calm her down. Hesse and his acquaintance are looking for His Majesty. If he is not there, perhaps he went to his beloved. The young man hid behind the door in time with Louise. The beauty sits silently on her knees, clenching her shirt with all her might. Obviously, she is still trying to fight what has fallen on her. The guy feels as useless as possible because all he can do is sit here without any questions. The girl begins to cry quietly, saying that no one believed her today. Hoping that at least the president will not doubt, the beauty assures him that she did nothing, and he nods, placing his hand on his cheek. Udmoniel, in spite of everything, will believe his beloved to the end. They merge in a kiss, and the girl is completely confused in herself. The girl congratulates her on her birthday. She is sorry that she is in this state, but better late than never. It's not yet midnight, so it's time to give something away. Of course, the blonde is hinting at the letter he asked for as a gift. As it turned out, the message was taken away. The professor took away the bag and slapped her in the face, which must have been a shock for Louise, from which she did not recover. The girl is asked to retell everything that was written. She has no right to refuse, because on the guy's birthday, he can do anything, so he has to start. The hero did not expect to hear on his birthday that the beauty was grateful for their breaking of the engagement, so one might say that this is even a little strange. A hasty end is not at all how Louise would end a letter. She usually worries too much when there are too many options in her head. Virgo hopes that next year they will also be able to celebrate together because the president is in his last year at the academy and His Highness will soon be there. It may sound cliché, but in the novel, the protagonists and villains did not meet after any celebrations, which was on another level. The hero pulls the girl closer to him. He knows that they will be able to celebrate even next year without any problems and everything will be fine. Too many tears have been cried, the lady is cozy and comfortable, and now that everything is fine, she feels as if she is about to fall asleep. The president was supposed to be at his event, but instead he stayed. Louise should always rely on him a little more because he wants to protect her. Memories from childhood are a separate type. A couple stands in front of a ruined house, which is believed to be the former home of the Empress. The Earl of Warren greets the children when his daughter became queen. He was given a title but had no estate or honors. The blonde says that the man should be called grandfather. He asks in a hoarse voice who she is, and the little girl introduces herself as Ian's friend. Only the chosen ones can be friends with the chosen ones. One can only hope that Sweeney correctly understood what exactly they were just trying to convey to her. The misfortune was connected with the daughter's sudden promotion, although no evidence was found, but there were suspects. Warren is not in the place where he needs to ask for something, but he wants his grandson to promise him. Resistance is pointless. You just don't need to be greedy. The soil will be fertile only under a clear sky and sun. If a man wants to protect what is dear to him, he needs to take radical measures. He will grow up and understand what we are talking about in the end. The beauty is not going to be suspended from the entrance exam, so you need to be grateful. In any case, the girl will be punished. She is mistaken if she thinks that she is not guilty of anything. Louise still believes that she did nothing to discredit the honor of the family. Everyone knows that there are certain rules. It would be dishonest to blame your crimes on other people around who have nothing to do with it. Honor defines Sweeney as a self-sufficient person. Nonsense is simply not that at all, but even that can be written down. They are swinging at the lady again. She is scared because this reminds her of the past where she did not tell anyone about anything, quietly hoping that this would end very soon. There is a knock on the room. Professor Huth enters. Juliana asks what happened because the man was not invited anywhere, so there is no point in it. The hero came to Louise. According to the rules, any student who has not reached the age of majority can choose a professor guardian at his own discretion. Larson has already accused the beauty of cheating on the exam in advance. She believes that this is fair, so there is absolutely nothing to worry about. The accusation also affects the professor. She can simply forward the exam under strict supervision, but suspicions have already been expressed in front of many, so the shameful suspicions have affected even men. If everyone wants to find out the truth, they will have to work together. Louise stands up and nods because she is going to get to the bottom of the truth, and her fate directly depends on this. If so, then as a guardian, Hewitt has the right to ask for a proper investigation to be carried out so that everything falls into place. The girl leaves saying that there was no assault. If the lady really wanted to cheat, she would hardly have used such cheap tricks. It's hard to believe that someone like Louise could do something like that, so we can only say that it's completely untrue. They will still look askance at the girl no matter how hard she tries to be friendly. Until everything calms down, there is almost no chance. Near the office, the lady was immediately met by Crond and Hillard. She, not understanding the situation, wondered why they both stood still there. At first, the young man was just waiting for the beauty, but then Ian and several other people came up. The entire student council has been on edge lately, so it's extremely exhausting every time. Claire hugs her friend from behind. There was such gossip about her that the brunette simply couldn't sit still, so she got pretty angry. Dean calmed down his acquaintance, but then he himself became enraged, so much so that he started a fight. Today they are responsible for all the dishes in the cafeteria. The girl wants to help, but she is asked not to do this. If they all go as members of the student council, then they cannot split up to get the job done. You would never think that the president is good at washing dishes. The man is so skilled that in a pinch he can do anything. Promising to show more talent, the young man asks for a kiss in return. Leaning a little, you need to be careful so that no one notices that they are standing next to each other. The hero pretended to be sad and made a face as if he had just been abandoned. The kiss happened only once, and it could not happen again. Somehow the man again doesn't agree with what he's being told. He looks completely unperturbed as he asks for a kiss again. Louise met Stella in the library the next day. She doesn't want to say anything, saying that she ultimately doesn't intend to apologize in any case. The girl may be hurt by the lie, but in any case she has not lost anything, so apparently the problem is almost solved. The scores have not yet been announced, so it is not a fact. The blonde asks to wish her good luck so that she takes first place, which is legal. She also wants to be friends without problems. Before Sweeney leaves the walls of the room, the heroine behind her asks in an angry voice if everything the girl has really belongs to her. The princess should be happy without any whims. It's all because of her, so there's no point in apologizing. The girl has always achieved everything solely through her own efforts, but now she's not sure whether she really deserved it. Stella is happy and everyone loves her, but this is how everything should be. Her past self again asks if she really deserves it. This is all just a moment, like a dream. The girl seemed to be intoxicated with feelings and completely forgotten from the very beginning. None of this belonged to Louise. A student meets the beauty in the corridor. He lives next door to Ian and has heard a lot about her, but the girl herself does not know how this is even possible. Rumor has reached that something happened to the lady, so in order to cheer up the beauty a little, the man hands her some sweets. Sweets always lift her spirits. There is a tradition at the academy. When a student submits a report to the professor, his assistant gives sweets for the work, and the girl can only thank him. Simon's familiar voice is heard behind her. She hopes that he did not interfere with anything, and this is actually close to the truth. The briefcase attracts attention. It has not yet been closed, so the lady walks as she is. She is not going to complain again. The hero quickly intercepts the little thing, saying that he can completely fix everything. He doesn't even allow a word to be inserted, moving away down the corridor. The blonde leans out of the window, asking him to wait at least a minute. She will definitely be able to catch up with him so that we can go together. Louise jumps out of the window, but to prevent anything from happening, the man catches the beauty halfway, who almost fell. The lady could handle it herself, but in this case there is still no choice. The briefcase seems to have become heavier than before. This is a fine for the heroine jumping out of the window, so Simon put candy inside. Reports have already been sent. The girl begins to eat without slowing down. The sweets are very tasty, and it looks more like a full-fledged gift that you can fully enjoy. The hero smiles, speaking words of praise to a friend. Sometimes she does not understand him at all, but it's still nice that Hillard smiles. Only an hour passed, and now the briefcase had already been repaired. After saying goodbye to the boy, the girl went to campus. Dean sighs boredly. Obviously, the girl hasn't finished her reports yet, but she should know that today is the last day. She should have worried about this earlier. The exam results will be announced this afternoon, so you need to keep yourself busy until that very hour comes. The hero asks where the candies came from because it seems that nothing was really done for him. It will probably remain a mystery. Simon gave the sweets, but this is the kind they give when they want to confess their love. It's surprising that Dean believes in such a sweet tradition, and it makes him chuckle. Claire should probably know about this too. The girl often mentions the guy, and they have been communicating for a very long time. The lists were exactly the same as in the original story. The first was, of course, Ian. The girl can no longer understand what is different and what is not. In the original story, Simon always showed a moderate level of skill, and sometimes even wrote unusual answers to questions he knew. In the novel, Stella would have been the first among the freshmen, but this time, Louise was there. The red-haired one almost immediately ran out of the corridor in despair. The girl recoils from the slap they helped her, but for some reason she just didn't make it to first place, and now she's apologizing, almost crying. Looks like Larson made the wrong choice, and this time she should have chosen someone else. Someone who wouldn't do anything bad. The girl behaves as usual, but she can't get out of her head that usually the candies that Simon gave are given as a sign of love. The brunette appeared nearby again. The holidays were coming, so the man decided to get ready to go to his home, at least for a while. The exams are over, so the lady is free. At the very least, she can try to help with getting ready thoroughly. A beautiful photograph of the trio happens to be in your hands. It still remains because valuable memories are never thrown away. As far as we know, a friend still has the gifted flower. I want even this time to remain good in my head. The time a friend spends with a friend is too precious. Even if he wants to, he still won't be able to forget the hero is telling the truth. Simon's hand reaches out to the girl's cheek. She freezes in anticipation of something, but they quickly explain to her that there was simply some kind of mascara or a stain there. The hero thanks Louise after they are done with everything. There is no need to worry because it is normal for friends to do something like that. I would like to thank my friend. Now, If of course she has time for this, there is tea and a plate with a beautiful cake in the room which is probably delicious. At home, Simon is going to help the royal family, and Ian the maiden is outraged because this is a vacation during which you need to do more pleasant things. A sad look falls somewhere down. The hero is almost no different from the original. And this is actually sad to see. Since childhood, the guy's life has been controlled, and now he doesn't even know what he really likes. He's going to try new things, but doesn't know where to start. The man looks like the previous main character, so she intends to help him. She already has a plan in her head that can be translated into reality. The brunette nods, saying that he quite likes what his friend just described. He is thinking about what can be done while there is time. Hesse asks if everything is okay. There are rumors that Louise and her friend had a wonderful tea party in the greenhouse. The story will lead nowhere. There are only the two of them there, and the gentleman can be honest with an acquaintance. He turns away, saying that he came only for this to tell. The red-haired one said, just in case, because there was too little time left. If there is nothing interesting, then he is going to leave. The corridors are very quiet. In fact, there is nothing surprising because there are only 4 students left in the academy who have not gone to their families. A week earlier, the man reported some unpleasant news. In the first semester, the student council paid off its debts and the work is truly valued as it deserves. It was decided that the remaining amount would be used to build a roof to improve its safety, so at this rate things should only get better. Everyone is ready to say that this is wonderful, but the student council will have to be present during the summer holidays, since it would be strange if nothing happened. As the president, the man remains, and his tormenting gaze makes the beauty also agree. Claire becomes next, and Dean, since he grumbles that what's at home, what's here, will definitely stay. Stella's strawberry jam catches her eye. She was going to give it away, but in the end the opportunity never came up due to a series of events. The maiden thought that they were friends, but it seems that the red-haired one never considered them as such, which is the reason why the lady did not wear the dress that was lent to her at the banquet. Each time the lady showed her true feelings, little by little, she is very different from the original. If she does not behave like in the novel, the heroine will continue to move away from Ian. If things don't go as planned for the good ones, then Larson and Lapis will be able to ruin Louise's life, who will ultimately be unable to do anything about it. Virgo needs to keep her distance from Krond so as not to create unnecessary problems for herself or the others. There is a knock on the room, and it seems to be the president. The caretaker went home for the summer and left a lot of potatoes, along with an apology for not being able to help, and it was like a gift to the others. The eyes are focused on Claire and Dean. If you think about it, they make a great team. They cut cucumbers well, and they do a great job in the student council. The girl should stop crying and start making mashed potatoes. She jumps from fear, but she needs to try and work hard. If the heroine thinks that she can do anything, it would be a good thing to demonstrate her skill in the matter. Puree doesn't even look like food anymore. Now the couple began to quarrel with all their might, no longer stopping at anything they are discussing, who is doing what and how it should be done correctly. Claire noticed that they get along well, but this is not at all true. It seems that the lady also brought the wrong sauce. Dean always follows his girlfriend, and it happened even this time. The lady is about to take what she needs, and the guy runs after her to help. He said that he joined the student council because of Claire's recommendation, although this never interested him. When the girl stayed on vacation, he also reluctantly agreed. An awareness of the situation comes because it seems that the man loves the girl. Dean Critus cannot afford it. But this is only according to the blonde. The hero has no right to meet with an already engaged maiden. The aristocrat, it seems, did not know such a detail, so she was even more amazed. In any case, the couple is officially engaged, and as we know, the wedding will take place this winter. It seems that all that remains is to wish the newlyweds happiness. Now it's clear why the acquaintance kept his distance. He drew the minimum line to protect Claire's honor and his own heart. Critus, although sometimes annoying, is actually a good guy. It's a pity that things won't work out for the couple, so of course there is a bit of sadness. The guy decided to lighten the mood, so smiling he repeats about food. He knows all the weaknesses of a lady who loves meat dishes. There are 3 things you need to do during the holidays. Seeing off the construction workers on the roof early in the morning is the most important thing, and also keeping the workers' room clean. Finally, the last thing. Closing all the doors. After returning to the dorm after doing this, it was almost free all the time. The student council took turns cooking, and in the evenings when the entire dorm was locked, they gathered in one room and played cards until late at night. Sometimes teams gathered to play today. It's chess. It's a pity that this is the last night together and that after this it will be the end. The girl fell asleep but woke up from words in her ear. The president was nearby, and so that the lady did not make sounds, asked to be there at least for the duration of the conversation. The man points to his sleeping friends nearby and quietly extends his hand. He would like to show something beautiful and no less important. A few minutes later, the lady found herself on a beautiful terrace which overlooked a wonderful starry sky of dark shades. If you think about it, this is where the whole story began. This is where the lady asked to break off the engagement from the very beginning. The hero notes that they were lucky, because recently it had been cloudy, and he thought that such a night with a clear sky would probably never come. This must be the first time such stars have been seen. The girl thanks for being invited here. She is really happy to be and rejoice here. The man thought about Dean Cretus. It is logical that they are close because they are the same age, but there is no need to worry because as a friend he will not replace the president. There are completely different thoughts in his head. Of course, the hero is going to leave the beauty alone for a year as he promised, but this is not the first time the heroine notices that his words and actions are very different. Even now, the boy cannot say that he is not happy to be next to his beloved. He asks if everything is okay, checking on his friend. The girl has red ears. Perhaps the weather just has a bad influence on her, so accordingly, nothing can be done about it. The hero asks to look at him so that he can check. Louise pushes the prince's hand away without noticing it when the guy says that it seems completely strange and makes you feel something more. The lady actually wants more, and she can't help but admit it. She can no longer ignore her feelings inside her head. There hasn't been such strong embarrassment for a very long time, but this does not mean that something can change. The expression on the face of the blonde standing next to him evokes even more feelings. A little annoying, but Ian is right about something, and it's worth admitting quickly. Sweeney likes the man, however. Perhaps these are her feelings from the original one. Thing is clear, she wants Crond. Now there's really no way back considering that this is already the second kiss. The heart is beating very hard, but that's not even scary. The girl involuntarily recalls lines and words from the original story in which everything happened too wrong. She wanted everything to be completely different. You can't help but notice that the beauty looks more than upset. She is apologizing for what just happened and for what is happening in general. It hurts him when the heroine makes that face when something bad happens. Now he can't help but wonder what he did wrong already. In any case, both Simon and Crond are happy to see the girl happy and confident. He is also worried because sometimes the lady is too lenient. The hero never said anything like that, but it would be worth guessing why Hillard keeps hanging around to help like some kind of prince. In fact, it was about the prince from the fairy tale, but Audmonial, who was standing next to him, was almost offended. There was no point in His Highness worrying about what was happening. Walking under such a sky is a rarity, so the hero asks to walk with him. The starlight they see comes from the past. People think that using the same time is important, but in fact heaven and earth are synchronized. When they return to the capital, it may be possible to meet at least occasionally. The hero is looking forward to their meeting in the greenhouse, so as soon as the opportunity arises, they can go out to talk. The president must have remembered the promise he made on that roof, which is why he changed his face and his convictions so quickly. I would like to know what is going on in his smart head. For some reason, he always listens attentively and is always friendly. In any case, there is no turning back. The heroine does not know what is wrong with the original, but it is already difficult for her to fight with reason and the way things are in general. A man may change his mind when the power and strength of the original is restored. Even if everything is like the original, the girl wants to look at him with a smile. You can't do nothing, and then sit and regret that you couldn't do anything, even if there were some weak attempts. I still remember Stella's words in my head about everything that the lady had and who it belonged to. She worked, and it was all earned by honest labor. Now, I would like to say to my face that this is true because everything belongs to her, because of the forces that were invested in every step. Today is the last day before leaving. The lady speaks as if she is sad about this, although in fact she is even on this. You can say thank you. The blonde already knows because he sees the face of his interlocutor, from which he can understand everything he knows, that she wants to say something that she has thought a lot about before. The girl is about to tell everything that is going on in her soul, but they are interrupted by a persistent knock on the door. Such a moment could only be ruined by one person. This time, Hesse was not joking or annoying, and simply looking at the floor said that Count Warren had died recently, which was a real shock. The man wanted to be close to his daughter until the very end, so even a photograph of the former empress ended up in his hands. The girl knew that it was worth visiting him more often. This was not the case in the original, but it seems only because the course of history has changed a little. If the old man had lived a little longer, he would have been a much happier person. He wanted to do much more than he ended up doing. Unfortunately, the man had so much pressure on him that he couldn't even show his true feelings, which he constantly hid. Instead of leaving with the others, the girl promises that she will stay, although she does not know whether it will be possible to talk together. The prince has a lot in his soul, and he could open up. A familiar voice is heard from behind. Stella greets Louise, and while she bows her head in a rude voice, asks what she forgot here. The lady is waiting for someone, but they shout at her, calling her stupid. She should have already seen the count's warning that was sent. Lapis probably means the portrait of the queen. Such misfortunes should not be repeated, but no one knows what awaits the others. The man really left a message, but it was a sincere wish for a happy life. This cannot be a limitation or anything else. Stella begins to scream without noticing it and gets strange looks. Hillard appears just in time and reminds the lady that they are not at the academy. The man doesn't know when she became the count's representative, but he wouldn't be happy if she was rude to his friend. The lady didn't mean anything bad, but drawing conclusions is just Simon's job, but not Lapis's, who has no right to do so. In any case, you can be grateful for the fact that the heroine speaks for the royal family, but this is still not necessary. Louise will see what it means when she gets in someone's way. She will have to be much more careful about how she behaves with others. Larson arrived in a carriage. The girl wants to rise even higher, so that no one dares to look down on her, and so that everyone worships her. Simon is worried about his friend. She shouldn't have to listen to insults, but she's from the Sweeney family, so there was no choice. His lordship helped, and that's good. The girl has no options because she has no right to make mistakes in front of other people, just like Hillard, who has been told this since childhood. The situation is not very good. Ian had a small argument with His Majesty, and it was like they became wild hyenas clinging to each other. The heroes discuss how things are going with both of them. The man is more concerned about the lady and how she sleeps, and generally does. The maid will see the mistress out after she finishes cleaning the living room. She can help the girl change clothes and take a bath. The window in the room is open, and on the windowsill sits a blonde man who seems to have been crying. He hasn't done this since that very day. Virgo gently hugs Ian. He is angry with himself and as a result begins to cry because he wanted to talk to Warren at least one more time. A man could not help but love a man because he was the father of his mother, but he himself does not know whether he loved in return. This is personal because a grandfather cannot but value his grandson. The tears were probably caused by the difficult childhood that had developed. The complicated relationships between adults always hit the heart. The only thing you really want with all your heart right now is the comfort that you can get from an important person. The girl involuntarily began to cry herself. She really didn't want to, and the young man didn't want to make her feel too much, but it happened that way. It's better to be in this state next to someone than alone in any case. Now it becomes clear what's what. There's a knock on the door. The heroine almost instantly gets scared because she didn't hope that this would happen. She suddenly remembered that she had agreed to the maid's proposal earlier. The guy quickly lies down on the bed, hugging the toy, and asks if they will notice him if he lies down like that. The beauty covers them with a blanket, telling the maid that she hasn't gone to bed yet. The room is too dark, but under no circumstances should you light candles, otherwise it will only get worse. If the lady is sad, it is better not to stay in the dark, because this will not lead to anything good. After helping the brunette change, she asks if she should prepare the bed, and is answered with a positive nod of the head. You need to relax and pretend to be asleep until the maids also go to bed. You cannot hug the doll so tightly that you accidentally crush it. Ian must be tired, and this is true because he earlier said that he had not slept for several days in a row. He asks not to worry because he will leave before sunrise or Hesse will help him. The hero cannot allow the servant to enter the room in any case, otherwise everything can only become much worse. The girl accidentally lets slip that she likes Hesse. The man reaches out to the beautiful woman who is smiling. It seems that their conversation has gone somewhere completely wrong. The blonde isn't going to be too stubborn anymore to Krond, she never was, so nothing has changed. The girl said that she had an important person and that she did not want to be misunderstood, so it would be worth thinking about her actions. It is not so easy to treat this person exactly the same as before, and in this case it does not change the matter. She says that she will stop being stubborn and allow it, but then she changes her mind. They have already kissed, and it can be called that way because it certainly cannot be anything else you need to think before you say anything. The girl even marked that very day on the calendar, and the hero himself did the same. He was worried that his beloved would decide that it was an accident. If the lady had decided any differently, it would have been the strangest way to repay she couldn't get the moment out of her head. The blonde noted that they need to face what has already happened in order to understand each other much better and acquire new feelings. Louise has a strange face, and in fact, sometimes it seems that she has two personalities. The man said that he had not thought about anything. It's time to go to bed because it's late. The president will leave when the lady falls asleep, and when she closed her eyes, he gets out of bed running his hand through his hair. On that day, the young man could not even imagine what all this could lead to in the end, on the day when the lady was one of the few who worried about him. The woman wanted to ease the pain of His Highness, realizing that it was not easy for him to watch what was happening and understand his loss. That day should cause pain, but for some reason there was only warmth in the soul. Many were grateful that the hero taught Louise a lot. At first, she was just the daughter of a friend of the boy's mother. He thought that she was an ill-mannered child because she constantly challenged him. Even when it came to the engagement, the hero thought that in fact it had nothing to do with him and that everything was not serious. Gradually, feelings began to take over the young man. He has no idea when it all started because he was made to feel strange. By the time the prince managed to understand what the matter was, nothing could be fixed. Louise was drawn into her bottomless eyes. Because of the academy, they had not seen each other for a whole year, and now this meeting was secretly excellent. It seems that the lady was still the same. They didn't see each other for a long time, and then those words about breaking off the engagement made her heart clench. She moved away more and more. The blonde felt the wall that rose between the couple and therefore proposed some stupid bet. He liked the person more than he could imagine. The young master sat reading exactly until the butler announced some important guest in the person of Stella Lapis. The girl, as it turned out, was afraid that his lordship would be busy later, so she arrived immediately in advance. She had something that might please her. The heroine is worried about Louise because she is the best student at the academy. She is sure that a great future awaits her friend, but in fact, there is something else here. Now there is a risk of being cut off and not having time to bloom. The same thing may happen again as with the deceased empress whom others envied. All that is present here is the usual concern for Sweeney because nothing should happen to her. My lord cannot want his friend to go the same way. It seems that the girl wants help to distance the heroine from Ian. She needs to act decisively, and she asks the same question. It became noticeable that the man likes Louise. The girl acts too sassy and pretends that she knows everything. Even if it is true, it does not matter in this context. The lady likes His Highness, so be it nothing can be done about it, but she wanted the man to speak out because she thought that they had common goals. Simon, who never shows his feelings, protects the beauty with all his might, as if she were her main treasure. The idea turned out to be absurd, so almost immediately the lady was about to leave, she realized that she had made a mistake. After the latest events, the heroine slept a lot. Every year, a celebration for foreign ambassadors is held at the Royal Arts Center. This time, the Sweeney family was responsible for the registration, but the director suddenly said that he would terminate the contract. The reason was not given, but it was all too sudden. The event is not cancelled, which means the supplier has changed thanks to compensation. The house did not go into the red, but the loss of such a contract is not a plus. Sweeney asks about the protests they can hold. Mom spent too much time preparing and ended up losing any chance. The heroine assures that nothing bad will happen. She and her father have gone through similar situations many times, so they are not going to suffer. In addition, an invitation to the performance was sent since this is a national holiday. Everyone's presence will be mandatory. There it will be possible to find out who took the family's contract. Now Louise understands who the girl inherited her talent as a villain. Having gathered and dressed in her best dress, the blonde arrived at the gate. She came alone, but she could also enter without her partner. Mom suddenly fell ill, so she had to go alone. She was probably overworked due to a lot of work, which ultimately went to waste. The girl follows the corridor listening. She hears a voice that thanks the director for the honor of conducting and preparing. It seems that the boss himself changed the supplier he chose. He even paid compensation, and it is not clear how exactly everything happened. You can smell the aroma of wonderful flowers that are difficult to get. You can't believe that the family uses real plants because one of the ambassadors has a terrible allergy. The blonde bursts through the door, asking for forgiveness for the trouble. The brunette doesn't know what family she's from or what she forgot. The girl apologizes for the overheard conversation, but what is important now is that one of the commission has allergies, and we can't leave everything as it is in order to avoid problems. The director asks why you forgot the flowers, but the family was not notified. They have been working with Sweeney for a very long time, so they managed to learn the contract. Nothing can be done, there is too little time left. The lady says that they have artificial bouquets that were originally planned to be used in the decoration. If they want to arrange just one bed for that person, they will have to enter into a contract with the family, otherwise nothing will work out. A woman cannot help but insist, unless of course there is another reason why she cannot sign, then everything can go as it should. Even if they agree, the lady has not yet reached 18 years of age and has no right to sign anything. Her mother is sick and sits at home, so this can be said to be a complete failure. If there is no longer a representative of the house here, it means that all the decorations will have to be removed. Both shout with one voice that this is impossible. Ian enters the room, who apparently also listened to the conversation outside the door. He wonders if he can help somehow, and if he can sign. If the lady has a guardian, then there should be no problems, but everything is already quite cloudy. The director does not understand what His Highness means. They push forward the power of attorney to transfer custody of Louise. Now the lady can do exactly as she sees fit without any problems. It is impossible to describe the feelings that are now raging in the heroine's head, but she is happy with the outcome she received. Everything will be even better. The girl really wants to ask the director what happened and why they were abandoned, but time does not allow asking unnecessary questions. There are many advantages to being an adult. The lady saved the hero, or rather the honor of the royal family, and he repaid exactly the same, so as not to remain in debt to someone. The hero wants to ask something else, but the girl is the first to ask a question about the documents. Hesse, who arrived at the art center in advance, said that the beauty was in trouble. Louise would definitely do something to get out of a bad situation. The hero quickly found something that helped solve the situation. Today they work well together. The song begins, which is actually just breathtaking. The hero thinks that it is quite sad. The good old classic never fades away, the story of a guy who fell in love with an angel. Now he confesses his love to heaven and cannot touch them. Virgo behaves exactly as usual, immediately jumping to conclusions. She must focus on recognition more in order to understand the whole point. The blonde doesn't know how to present these embarrassing words in a way that will be accepted, so he has to try to rephrase something. The hero should not think that he will be rejected, but apparently even this will be possible. No one knows, because since they are from different worlds, this means that love is doomed. The guy has a different point of view, which he is still trying to convey. He asks Louise to look at him, and she does not understand what they are going to do with her. This atmosphere makes everything inside shrink the most, and think about what to do next. For now, there is too much that is unclear. The lady had something in her hair, and it was this little thing that the hero pulled out. She already thought that there was going to be a kiss, so now she is literally burning with shame. Archery training has begun. Krond goes first, and after hitting the target he calls Simon, who also raises his bow and arrow. As always, everything remains exactly the same as before. Only thanks to what is happening, the man's life still remains safe. The young man's cousin is the same age, so as members of noble families they could compete on equal terms, although in the end this does not happen. Sometimes the hero would really like to be taken seriously, but for some reason the brunette is not going to do this, which cannot but upset him. The look of a friend makes him lower his head and apologize. The man can't do anything about it, and it hurts somewhere at the soul level. Trying to say that nothing terrible happened, the boy only asks that they also be sincere in response to him, otherwise this will not go far. I can't believe that the prince never opened his heart to his precious relative. He was always the first to make concessions. All Hillard is trying to say is that his friend already has someone to open up to, and the conversation accidentally turns to Louise, just like usual. To be honest, it's not that simple. Sweeney herself is afraid of the hero, although she tries to hide it. It seems that at first she herself did not notice it. Now is not the time to think about such things, but unfortunately there are no other options provided. It seems that Simon also considers himself scary. His Highness always promised to be better than him. Going down on one knee, the brunette reminds of the oath that they swore to each other earlier. So that no one could see the potential in a man, he had to always hide behind Odmoniel's back, in return for which he offered his friendship. The only one who can kill Krond and avoid responsibility before the law is in fact only Hillard. All the glory of the prince could fall on his shoulders. Of course, the beast was perfectly tamed, but it remains so. If you are not cruel enough, then it will dare to encroach on what belongs to the owner. The hero wondered what we were talking about. Perhaps it was Louise or the throne that the blonde should ascend to after a while. Taking a direct hit from Ian's arrow, the brunette lowers his voice to the point of impossibility. No one should place any hope in him. I remember the day when my uncle introduced his son. The boy could not forget his only cousin, whom they had already seen more than once. All this time he lived in the duchy, but then he will begin to live in the capital. Hillard bends down to introduce himself again. But there is no need for this because formalities are not for relatives. The holiness that is inherited does not extend to the child who stands in front of the prince. The conversation is heading down a dangerous path. During the lesson, the teacher talks about the full law of inheritance. There is an important factor to it that cannot be put aside even if desired. The man raises his hand to answer. Simon, sitting next to him, knows the answer too, but is not going to volunteer. Only 3 who have proven their belonging to the Krond family can become direct heirs, and this is an absolute condition. You can prove it with the help of the Matapa treasure. It glows only when touched by a suitable person. Since the young lord clearly wants to take the test to prove his identity, he thinks that there is definitely no need for this, and shakes his head. After completing the lesson, the friends left the classroom. Next, they planned archery, where they also needed to go together. Today they can shoot again regardless of the score. They are not competing after all, so nothing bad will happen anyway. Simon didn't even believe that he could train the way he wanted. He loved archery, the tension and sensitivity he felt when pulling the bowstring. The distinct sound of an arrow hitting the target makes your heart beat faster. Every moment of this process is wonderful. A cousin appears behind him shouting about the incredibleness of what just happened. Even the guy's arrow has difficulty reaching its target, but here everything is completely different. The servant brings an arrow that will serve as a memory of this day. This is the first point earned, which was earned only by the effort and work put into it. I would like to keep it for myself, but for a friend, it is of great importance. There is no need to give up, but the glory belongs to Simon in any case. The hero holds out the little thing and smiles because he understands that at least this time he did the right thing, and now he won't worry about it. From now on, he will work even harder not to lose to Simon, but so far he has only experienced failures one after another. Over time, the first victory came, which made him rejoice from the bottom of his heart, just like his cousin who was cheering him on. It would be nice if they spent time together on other days after classes or during them too. Hillard is always in a hurry to go somewhere, but now he apologizes. The guy exhales and tries to control himself. He definitely didn't want to hear that the guy was sorry for his behavior. The servant brought an arrow which the brunette seemed to have forgotten. He left in such a hurry because he probably wanted to show off to the Archduke. I need to tell my uncle that the prince will come by soon. Come to think of it, this is the first visit to Hillard, so it should be fun. The butler asks the guy to wait a little longer before the meeting, while he can look at the paintings that are inside the estate. Before this, the blonde had already repeatedly seen all these paintings that depict the beauty of the Grand Duchy. The old man's stories are very interesting, but the hero can't really concentrate. All he can think about is Simon, and when they will be able to talk. I want to know if the boy told his father about his victory. A cry is heard that he has gone crazy, and in order not to scare the prince, the servant asks to go to another place. The father yells at his son because, having received the support of the prince, he tried to defeat him. He has no right to behave like that and will pay for it. His Highness was about to leave, but all these screams and then the slap in the face became the last straw. He, without hearing the person seeing him off, opens the door to the room. If Simon wants to survive, he must be much more focused and must not allow anyone to see hope in him. Stupid nobles see hope in everything. What will happen if a rumor spreads that the Duke is better than the prince and this does not end well? The moment their hopes are realized in a man, his life will be in danger, and even the father's strength will not be enough to protect his son. The boy has no right to even look in the direction of what belongs only to his Highness because he does not deserve it and has never deserved it. The hero decided to immediately return back to his castle. Finally, he asks to give Simon the arrow that he brought with him because he thought that he had forgotten. From that moment on, the man decided that he would be good at everything. Words that were addressed to him or no one else were constantly spinning in his head. Hillard noted that His Highness is already good at everything, so there is no point in trying to change anything. He will not allow anyone to get around him. A man wants to see a friend again who will laugh and smile. There is only one way to make life as joyful as before. The brunette assures that everything is in perfect order. He must do so to crush his friend completely, so that he simply cannot afford to fight any longer. If an acquaintance becomes a wall that cannot be overcome, then it will become easier for both of them. He will not try to get in his way. Since they became friends, being friends with a silent child had not been the easiest task, so there was a way to fix it. Tired of talking to himself, he made an important decision and introduced her to Louise. She had the talent of making people's hearts glow. Now the hero even regrets a little that he ended up doing something in the past. He shouldn't have gone against the will of the man. The girl wanted to know if there was some kind of pattern that was interfering with the original, and of course it turned out to be true. The main hypothesis was that everything was different. The changes directly affected only what was connected with Louise. Everything was mixed up, making us think even more. A recent case became an example when mercenaries who were drunk cut off the head of a statue in the square. Until that moment, everything was exactly the same as usual. In the novel, the case was solved by Stella and Ian, but this time it was the knights of the imperial palace who sorted it out and did everything. After this, what happened again corresponded to the original, and the mercenaries were pelted with tomatoes throughout the festival. This seems to be the original's power of self-preservation, or is it because of Louise's sphere of influence, which speaks of a completely different relationship to the situation? The prince's carriage arrived and the lady went with him. She tries the strawberry dessert, which, as expected, turned out to be simply wonderful. It would be strange to admire so much because there is nothing special in the dessert lately. The lady has been constantly hungry, so she is not going to change anything. The heroine is in the last stage of growing up, so she should eat properly so that everything is normal. Even if she is tall, she would look stunning. The man jokes but asks him to say magic words that lift his spirits 3 times a day and to eat meat to grow. If you think about it, these are wonderful words. They not only give strength to live today but also inspire hope for tomorrow. Some work has been planned outside the capital. Although they have been sending a lot of money over the years to prepare for floods, the amount of damage has never decreased. The truth has been known for a long time. The aid sent every year from the royal court to reduce the damage was wasted by officials. The hero exhales, trying to calm down. He does not know how to deal with Count Lapis, who does not change even after time and only gives empty explanations. The place where His Highness will go is Stella's house. The daughter of the Lapis family has caused a lot of trouble, so it's understandable why the girl's reaction is so strange. It's still a matter of honesty. If a man goes, he'll have to meet a girl, he's not happy, but there's still not much choice. The original couple's relationship is further deepened by twists and turns in the story, which ends up being exactly the same as usual. Their meeting again was the final part of the episode to be seen. Although the course of events was changed, the result was the same as in the original. The ending of the story could be absolutely anything. Since the lady hates worrying about such things, she did not want to love Krond. It seems that the lady does not want the guy to leave, and he understands because all her feelings are reflected somewhere on her face. He wants to ask some other important question. I would like to read some interesting books, and perhaps the lady will be able to borrow them, she calls the maid whom she can ask. Now the hero is gradually beginning to understand why he needs to value his time at the academy. It is short and passes unnoticed. There's no time now he won't be able to see his fiancée for several weeks, and he seems to regret the way things are turning out. Most likely it would take quite a long time. The man did not want to make her wait too much after the girl's words. His heart ached. He felt lonely. The young man bends down to kiss his beloved. What a relief it is that it's raining outside, because otherwise all the sounds would be audible better. No matter how much the hero thinks about it, he won't be able to see her for several weeks, and they only kissed twice, which already seems funny. The maid wants to enter, so the couple moves away from each other. The books that were brought should be read carefully and then returned so that everything is normal. We must not forget to circle the calendar, and it is better to circle this day in dark blue. The girl even guessed it perfectly this time. The man wanted to draw 5 circles with dark blue and 2 more with light purple, but this time everything turned out completely wrong. There must be another way, but we can only hope that the guy will return in perfect order. Simon shakes his friend's hand as if as a sign of farewell. The brunette wants to talk about something important that is hidden. The former queen organized an engagement for Hillard so that he could start his own life. The blonde assures that everything will be fine, even if he doesn't agree. He doesn't know who he likes, but he has the right to date whoever his heart wants. The hero is silent but then begins to speak. Louise Sweeney will be his bride, and in this case he had to accept the offer with joy. There was no choice but to agree. Because the girl attracts the attention of adults, they do not want to see how money flows to other noble families. The upside is that Simon should have found a use for it a long time ago. If he had not accepted the offer, other families would have had their eyes on her. It would be extremely difficult to turn down the royal family's marriage proposal, given that there is something else involved. The girl is very attractive if the courtship period drags on, and it becomes known that she is of interest to the royal family. Then the girl will be pulled into a whirlpool. Of course, the young man expected that this family would one day be noticed, since they were too rich to simply ignore their existence. In this regard, the hero as an ideal option will not suffer if Louise refuses. Simon assures that nothing will happen to him. Of course, the man had no right to ask for more time in order to think carefully about the words of the former empress, but somewhere in his soul, he thought that this proposal was worthwhile. Last time the question was asked whether the blonde was afraid of his friend, and the answer became clear only now. He really is afraid because Sweeney will love him. Since marriage negotiations between the two have already begun, it means that the hero must propose marriage to Louise in advance. The girl will understand everything, even though the man tries to hide it behind words and actions, but there is something else hidden here, something unknown. After all that was said, the young man left the hall, or it was some kind of blessing or something else, something incomprehensible. Simon and the hero himself sincerely valued Louise, how simple everything was, that they didn't even have to think about something incomprehensible to the mind. It seems that the three can still share the same affection for each other, which does not change the situation. Since the prince had different feelings for Louise, he couldn't help but feel uncomfortable when the maiden did something for Simon. His Highness could not help but feel jealousy, which literally strangled him. Finally, the carriage arrived at the Lapis estate where they were originally heading. The blonde received a letter from Simon. There is no talk about marriage, but the lady must have been surprised when she heard such a thing. This is not something for which you need to apologize. He writes this letter in case she is worried and cannot sleep. Marriage talks are nothing more than a formality. No pressure will be exerted. The only thing they have to do is meet 3 times and talk about what they will do. The expenses will be covered by the royal family. Everything that I wanted to say has already been said, and that's all for now. there's no need to worry because Simon will remain the same Hillard as before. The man said that the date was a simple formality, but now 5 maids are running around the beauty to get her ready for the trip in full force. The hero apologized because he didn't know that his grandmother would be so passionate about this. The girl thinks that everything is fine, but she can't help but be embarrassed that they treat her like that. No matter how rich the Sweeneys are, in front of them is a high-end store that puts status before money. Louise wouldn't even be allowed in if it weren't for the former empress. You need to treat the trip a little more simply, as if it were a return of taxes that the family paid. The situation does not change because it is still inconvenient. There were too many servants and dresses inside, which made you even more confused. You need to choose at least one option. The girl listened to Simon, who suggested a dress with some kind of neckline. After trying it on, she goes out into the corridor. Beauty in reality captivated the mind, but now it was Hillard's turn, who was also made ideal for this date. They had fun together and tried to choose the best. After choosing the attire, a relative schedule was drawn up. As His Highness had said, the couple was provided with good meat as well as the opera, which was also an interesting place to visit. The couple also chatted happily, being alone. When the lady is next to Simon, she feels good and calm like no one else. On a rainy day, the walks are beautiful where friends are. Now, there's a boy on the street selling flowers. The girl does not leave him unattended. Coming closer and taking the bouquet for a gold coin, she holds out an umbrella that will save him from the rain. It is impossible for the flowers in the basket they were working on to simply get wet. The blonde also asks to go a little lower since there are more people there who can buy something. My lord covers the lady with his umbrella. She points to her bouquet, rejoicing like a little child, because it is a wonderful smell. The lady could go a little slower, but for now this option remains the same. The lady hands this to her friend. The man cannot help but accept the gift. Louise will understand everything, although the young man is trying to hide it, but there really is something hidden behind his words and actions. The hero does not believe in this because how can a girl who has never noticed anything understand something after a while, as if awareness had come to her? The girl went to the store to buy an umbrella. She is still only thinking about what color she can buy it, but unfortunately there are not many options, even if she would like to. Black is the best color and the lady sincerely likes it, but in this case it is not clear that bright things suit Louise, and yellow or green will be just right. Petrinia in her hands is also yellow, so the choice is on this particular shade. The Lord also chose it, so today we can celebrate. Today is the day when they walked together in the rain and enjoyed each other's company. It seems that this option is also suitable as a special day. Louise is right, and they can celebrate whatever their heart desires. Talking about the next meeting, we can only hope that it can be delayed. It wouldn't be fair to hide what Ian knows from the lady, so Simon wants to be honest. The reason he accepted the offer was because the lady would turn him down. The hero does not want his girlfriend to be with someone else. He does not want to see her marry someone other than the crown prince, who is his close friend. It is better to make things official, but if this does not happen, it will harm Master Sweeney. She must be careful until the man has enough aristocratic status. This is a royal marriage, and the former empress can interfere. Nothing like this can happen. There is a terrible rainstorm outside if there is exactly the same rainfall where Ian is. Now this could be a big problem that has gotten in the way. Everything should be fine with them, but we can only hope that the prince will too, because he deserves a better outcome, which will be normal. Sir Lapis meets His Highness. It must have been difficult for him to come this way. They had not seen each other for a long time, and there was something to talk about. The man heard that the estate is not in the best condition, but this is not so. Everything is actually not like that, because the brunette assures that his family also suffered greatly due to the flood. It's time to go to the dining room. Due to the fact that His Highness had arrived, the table was given special attention. While the man was driving, he saw that half of the village was drowning in water, and therefore everyone was trying to evacuate. No matter how much they were preparing for the rains in this area, the outcome was still the same. His Highness refuses to eat, saying that he is quite tired. This is the final decision for today, and it is time to go to bed. In this case, it is better to introduce Stella to the man. He cannot help but react, so the option seems good. The girl has only just arrived, and so all that remains is to make them speak. Walking forward, the lady bows. Lapis is pleased that they managed to stop in one place. She tries to smile, hiding her true feelings inside her consciousness. This is the first meeting after the holidays, so of course the main character asks how the man has been all this time. The girl suggests that they can dine in company and then leave. Attention is focused only on the beautiful ring on her finger, so the guy refuses. It seems that the beauty does not have a drop of conscience this time. It is impossible to say anything else because anger prevails. Now it is clear that the lady is like her father. The family sits down at the table, starting a discussion. The Lapis spouses do not understand why His Highness refused to eat. They spent all the money to prepare, but in the end it was all in vain. In any case, coming is an excellent option which cannot be bad. The girl immediately reacted because, as usual, she did not really like it. They became good friends at the academy, so there is no point in trying not to establish this connection. The lady does not hear but remembers the man's words. The girl ran into the room without saying anything. She is angry because she does not understand how she is like her idle father who makes no effort. No one recognizes the lady. If he only knew how hard the heroine tries, he would never dare to make such a ridiculous comparison. The Count returned to the room. Within 5 minutes, he insistently asks not to behave like this and to go to His Highness. Perhaps this is the last opportunity granted to the family to rise from their knees. If the daughter becomes empress, then the debt will finally be ended once and for all. They will live without thinking about money and other problems. The couple believes that Ian is depressed because of the long journey. If you talk to him kindly again, then nothing bad will happen for sure. Father can do everything on his own, but he doesn't intend to. Stella shouldn't be so nasty and should try to do better things. Everyone is busy satisfying their own needs. The man shushes so that the lady does not raise her voice, and so that His Highness, God forbid, does not hear them. The girl understood what was being asked of her, so she jumped up from her seat. She would talk, but she couldn't vouch for what was said in any case. Stella is a good child, so she will never disappoint. The wife asks her husband to wait and not go after the baby, allowing her to figure it out on her own. Ian sits in the room thinking about Louise. He would like to know what she is doing now and whether her date with Hillard in the city went well. The girl thanks my lord for walking her home. This was also a normal part of the date they had. The question is sharply asked about what the young man likes to do. The blonde thought that since everything turned out this way, it would be nice to do what he likes. The hero already likes everything, and he cannot single out anything. There is not even a drop of greed in him, although sometimes he could choose whatever his heart desires. Promising that next time Louise herself will come up with options, she also offers to tell many stories to make the man smile. The girl cannot help but thank her friend for helping her and her family. This is exactly what he always wanted to hear. This is the pure truth, and the lady is ready to say the same thing over and over again. So as not to make a mistake, the young man is ready to listen to repetitions over and over again. A hand falls on the beauty's cheek, and the atmosphere becomes completely incomprehensible. I would like to understand what is happening in this place. In order not to escalate things even more, the man is about to leave. He knows when to retreat so as not to regret it again later. Only a few days have passed today. The weather is clear, which does not interfere with enjoying the sun shining right in your face. The hero assures that everything is in order. The grandmother insisted that the acquaintance help the girl with the greenhouse, since a lot of work has accumulated there. The Empress asked why they weren't going anywhere, and the answer turned out to be simple. The rainy season had begun, so the young man thought it was better to wait until the right moment. Giving your best means that you need to go through bad moments. Hillard, as a person devoted to his family, must be aware of it himself. Now, the brunette is with a friend who asks if she should put her old work uniform back. While the lady is talking about sizes, a friend offers to straighten her hair, in which it seems something has managed to get tangled in just a few minutes. The man himself said that he agrees to do what he likes, and collecting Louise's hair is a real pleasure. The beautiful ribbon must have been a gift from Ian. He had previously spoken about the color purple, so it became clear almost immediately. It was something about marking flowers on the calendar that was said earlier in a conversation between friends, and now the beauty can fully remember what was happening. Probably my lord is indicated in black because this time we can say that it suits him quite well. After such a strange conversation, the couple went back to the greenhouse where work continued. The servants asked the man to help with literally everything. No one even realizes that he is the son of a duke, all due to the fact that the hero did not appear at official events with the prince. Still a little ashamed that the brunette is working so hard, the girl offers to go and have a little rest together. After much persuasion, which lasted about 5 minutes, we finally managed to go along the path into the forest. I already want to be happy that they managed to be together, but it starts to rain, which absolutely destroys any expectations as such. They walked for about 20 minutes, but now they don't know how to return. All the tracks left by their shoes should have been washed away from the road. Once this is over, both should return to the estate to change. Louise didn't finish her sentence because she started sneezing. Sneezing and a stuffy nose are not something to be ashamed of. The Duke hands over a handkerchief to help cope with what is happening. The girl thanks, but is not going to return it because the thing is all dirty. She plans to buy a new copy for her friend later. It seems that the rain is not going to end. The man is going to run to the estate for an umbrella and a shawl to save his girlfriend. The girl assures that everything is fine. The rain is pouring like buckets, and if we run back, the situation will only become many times worse than it already is. The man cannot concentrate. He wanted to hold the lady's hand, but what will happen after doing this? Her shoulders are wet from the rain, and even her lips, cold and trembling, beg to be warmed as soon as possible. Simon puts his hand on the beauty's head and suddenly realizes that she has a fever, which is not something to joke about considering that it could worsen the situation. The girl asks not to bring her an umbrella and a shawl after another impulse. Memories of her father with prohibitions and friends who constantly made him smile are shining in her head. The cruel thing is that the hero was confident that he could give up just like the lady. Now he cannot let her go, and it's not just about the hand. Ian was sitting reading a book, but Stella burst into the room. She decided to tell him something important, because in fact it could not change the situation. His Highness doesn't think there's anything he wants to hear. The girl must have forgotten who she's standing in front of. The lady knows that the man came here in such a downpour for a reason. He came to find out where the money allocated to cover the damage was going. Since it is better not to waste precious time, the girl wants to tell everything herself voluntarily, so as not to interfere. Everything was wasted on games and races, so there was not a penny left. Records of all expenses are in Count Lapis's office. All that remains is to thank the girl, since now you can return home before the appointed time. Louise didn't do anything either. It was her friend who dropped the piece of paper during exams because she wanted her friend to get into trouble. In the end, the lady even refused the dress she was given, leaving it at home, as she needed to ignore this kind gesture. She tried to destroy the future of the Sweeney family by accepting Larson's offer and breaking her contract with the Royal Center. Surely now the blonde thinks that the heroine has completely gone crazy. When the beauty sees Louise, she has exactly the same feelings. Everything that Stella so desired, everything that should have belonged to her, is now only with Sweeney, and by doing this the lady wanted to completely trample her. Fearing that she would only fail, the girl wanted to get at least something that belonged to another person. Now, after admitting the whole truth, the young man is obliged to destroy the estate so that not a single pebble remains, because you can no longer believe in them. This family is lost. The lady in the end still remained as cunning. Members of the royal family do not make decisions succumbing only to their feelings. Since the heroine confessed tomorrow, they will send someone from the palace, and the man will rely only on the facts that will become clear after a thorough investigation into the affairs of the Lapis family. Ian would like to personally expel the girl from the kingdom so that Louise would not even suspect or be upset about it, but this is not what she would want. The heroine doesn't think that her friend can't help but hate her. It's hard to believe, but she's not that kind of person, so she could forgive her ex-friend. Stella could find out the truth, find out what people really think about her, and know everything in an instant if she puts her mind to it. Realizing that Sweeney never treated the red-haired woman with anger, the lady begins to sob. She has no idea what she should do now. A few more days have passed. Simon comes to the blonde asking if she remembered the order she learned everything sent, but is worried that it won't be too difficult. In the end, one only needs to talk about what is prescribed by ancient etiquette. His lordship asks the maid to leave even if the hair is not yet completed. Hillard believes that he does hair much better. Everyone would be surprised to learn about my lord's secret skill in excellent hands. You will have to say the words because this is the tradition. You should perceive everything better, since in any case there is a lie without a drop of truth. Today is the last day of the engagement. Simon will offer to move to a new stage of the relationship, but the lady must refuse because that was the original agreement. It was quite reasonable not to impose empty expectations on each other. It is still very harsh and funny to say such things, but there is something else. The lady is not at all sure whether to say no. Doubts are gradually creeping into her head because the girl has had the opportunity to watch her friend in recent days. The feelings that the man experienced were extremely interesting, and you can't argue with that. He did everything to make the days good. Although the lady is the one who is known to not notice anyone and nothing, she can distinguish the feelings that she was about to see. Those words about not a drop of truth could not apply to this. Well, not at all. The hero lowers a strand of hair and removes his hand away. The girl already wants to turn around, but it seems that this will not be the best idea. The man lowers himself closer to the neck and says that what was said was a lie. The young man wants to say where everything begins and where everything ends, and therefore it is easier for him to simply remain silent and not try to relate to anything. The count shouts at those who are describing the property. They have no idea how much the painting they are moving is worth. He shouldn't behave like that, but still, there is resistance. The red-haired woman stands aside and watches what is happening so as not to interfere. This is over, but the dress in her hands attracts attention. This is the very robe that Louise gave then, and this is something that cannot be forgotten and given away simply to never be seen again. The girl rushes forward, saying that they have no right to take the dress from her. His Majesty ordered everything to be taken away, but this is something more important. It will be difficult to give up a certain thing, but a dress alone cannot decide the fate of an entire country, so you have to leave it. Thanks to Louise, the lady will be able to go to the banquet at that very moment. Larson handed over the dress that she was supposed to wear to the event today. The girl can't help but remember the smile of her friend, who was more than happy to share the last with the one she valued more than anyone else. The student council president is also Louise, and she also looks good together with Ian. She could be envied in all respects. Stella convinces herself that her main goal is, above all, she will continue to make even more efforts that she can. The girl can't stand her past self, who acted as if everything was allowed to her and did inappropriate things. She had to make different decisions. My lord was about to tell everything without concealment, but at that moment a servant appeared who spoke about the arrival of the Empress. It's okay if the hair is not completely collected, considering that it suits a girl even more than anything else. The former queen greets the arrivals. Louise bows, first saying that she is glad to see the lady, and says her name to remind, although before this the heroine called Simon Lord. But before that, she had never seen his true face as a nobleman because he was always soft. From the seemingly painted smile to the skillful speech, everything is perfect, and all this has to be observed for the first time despite everything else. Finally, the young man gets up from his seat and says Louise's name. He bows before her, smiling and asking her not to look away from beginning to end. They were in the same reign both on their first date and on their second, and each time it did not stop them. The girl would not have agreed, but the weather change was different. The couple is too different. The man averts his gaze to the window, although he recently promised that he would not do this under any circumstances. For brunettes, there are only 4 types of weather that matter, and he also wants to say more important things on this important day. The young man gives this rein to Sweeney. What they celebrated were the best days together, and they remained the best almost until the very end without turning a corner. What was washed away by the rain does not matter, because we are talking about something else. Only the sun can completely dry the memories. Even so, nothing changes for nothing. The association with the sun can only be like Ian, who is the prince of this state, and the most important character. In any case, you shouldn't be upset because the rain will start again. It comes unnoticed, bringing with it different feelings that are difficult to obey. From now on, every part will belong every time it rains, even though the hero dares to hope that nothing will change between them. The relationship with Sweeney is like an insolence that the hero cannot even ask for. He understands what's what, and therefore does not want anything to change. While turning down the Duke would have a positive effect on Louise's family, she couldn't truly enjoy the success which wounded Simon in the process. Most likely, the man changed his words, thinking about the well-being of the beauty, remaining as usual the kindest in the whole wide world. Perhaps my lord will not agree, but black combines all colors. The lady goes deeper into the conversation they had a little earlier in the day. Accepting a generous act causes great pain, but the lady cannot help but appreciate what is done for her sake. She smiles to show her intentions. Now, Sweeney thanks her friend for keeping his promise to meet. She accepts all those words spoken. Then the hero went to his friend. He had no right to ask for a relationship that could work out best for the couple. It seems that the prince is not particularly surprised by this outcome. Since childhood, his cousin treated Louise like a porcelain doll. There is some unpleasant news, and that is that the girl has figured out the man. All you have to do is make a careless joke nearby, and then nothing will be the same again. The blonde should know what happened between the couple so that he can ultimately give some valuable advice that can actually help to the fullest. The beauty grew up, ate meat, and also her umbrella changed to yellow. It seems that the young man has nothing more to say, judging by the expression on his face, which is imperturbable. Everything comes to an end one day, which is inevitable. Perhaps a simple truth applies to this feeling that lurks somewhere inside. The girl is different from others who previously forced the man to stop everything in the early stages. This feeling will be with him until the very end. Until the rage finally subsides, nothing will change. He must completely let go of the lady. This will be the first thing that can be stopped at will. The color that belongs to Louise is purple, but if you think about it, the boy doesn't know which one is his. The blonde decides to give his friend black. It is wonderful and combines all the other colors and is perfect for someone who has a lot of abilities. You should have seen the hero's face because he was amazed. He thinks that everyone who told him about black clearly overestimates him without noticing it. The girl hangs towels and a white sheet on the clothesline. Ian appeared as if out of nowhere since he had not planned anything like this. Simon leans out on the other hand, stating the fact that it was not very scary. The heroine is even more surprised than before. They also went out to dry the blankets. The hero suddenly decides to change the topic, asking the beauty when she will return that very treasured little thing, but she doesn't quite understand. The girl remembers abruptly, and this makes her begin to feel embarrassed. She can return the little thing at any time, but she is not sure whether her friend wants to get the handkerchief back. Of course, the heroine has already washed the thing and even ironed it so that everything would be better, but still there is no choice left. The man extends his hand to take what belongs to him back. What happened was not the most pleasant, as both of them think, but judging by what the acquaintance says, the sound was pleasant in any case, so it will not arise. Ian calls Louise to talk. He won't ask for much, but he also wants the lady to come into the student council office in the evening because there is something to discuss in private. If the lady agreed so quickly, then all that remains is to say goodbye. While there is time, you need to quickly clean up and go to a meeting with Crond, where they wanted to be together. The beauty enters the office and hopes that they will be alone there. But as it turns out, Dean and Claire are also sitting there who greet their friend almost immediately. There will be something important here. The chief gathered everyone who was supposed to be with him because he has two bad news. Of course, he would like nothing to happen, but this happens extremely rarely. Perhaps some of those present have already read the news in the newspapers. Stella will arrive a week later due to the compromising activities of her family and because of problems in general. The library asked to send someone to replace it. Due to the circumstances, the president is wondering if there are volunteers among those gathered who can take responsibility. It is the two people who just entered the room that are the bad news mentioned earlier. The man does not even know how to properly introduce them to the council as a whole. One of the arrivals says that they are here to document all the virtues of His Highness, so that they can then pass them on from generation to generation. These, as it turns out, are military officials whose task is to record historical facts, each recording events from the royal, spiritual, and academic life of the Crown Prince for transmission to posterity. The beauty watches all this without much enthusiasm and hopes that they didn't write down that she came later than everyone else. It seems that they mistook the lady for a lazy person who was late even for a meeting of such importance. Although they record the whole truth about the prince's life at the academy, he doesn't really want to be depicted as a terrible person, so he can only promise that the friends will be sweethearts over the next week. When the heir is sleeping in bed in his room, the duo watches him in turn, so as not to miss any important detail. If he is suddenly called somewhere urgently, conversations in his sleep will also become part of the story. The blonde sincerely does not understand why waste paper on such useless writing. According to a friend, nothing can be unnecessary. The evening conversation about the mission of officials was much longer than the meeting itself. This was because those gathered decided that the library's affairs were important, and it would be fair if they worked there in turns. Claire hoped that she and Louise would meet at least once more in the capital. The lady had all sorts of things to do that she just couldn't put off. It was all too complicated, so it turned out exactly the way it all ended. I want to know if everything is okay. The friend would like to say that there is nothing wrong, but that's another story. She asks Sweeney questions about her vacation, since she was probably worried about the prince while he was staying with Lapis. The girl doesn't know how to answer because even though they've already kissed several times, they're still not dating, which slightly changes the situation that developed in the end. Since Louise had not seen His Highness, she decided to work on the greenhouse. During the rainy season, it can be crowded because many people have dates there, which are closed only for 2. Claire should definitely look there too because the entrance will be open to employees. Dean can also be invited a little later since he is a close friend of her friend and in general a good person. The friend seems upset about something. If she needs to talk to someone, the girl is always there. She doesn't insist on anything, but sometimes she's in such a mood that she wants to talk to someone. The brunette cannot help but thank her for this attitude towards her. Perhaps someday she will be able to tell the story, but for now she will keep everything in her head, thinking again and again about what happened. Of course, Louise can also come with all her problems at any time. Even if it is some kind of nonsense or stupid story, there is still nothing shameful in it. Since her birthday, Sweeney regrets for the first time that she was not born a guy. Unfortunately, she cannot date such a charming Claire, who seems to be one of the best people on the planet. Today's Ian was simply disgusting in a shirt without a single wrinkle. He came to pretend to be a proper schoolboy with his hair neatly slicked back. Usually the hero complains too much. Like a small child, all that the lady has in mind is the desire for the man to never leave his ideal image, which suits her perfectly. In any case, it is clear that all this is being done to be remembered by people as a person without flaws. The guy cannot make people think badly of him in any sense. A young man appears behind him with that same evil look. The girl answers him disrespectfully, so there is nothing left but to be completely indignant about what is happening. No one cares which part will also go down in history with these words. The hero pulls the woman out the door and hugs her there, promising that they will be together forever in perfect order, and just the two of them. The man was returning from a meeting of secretaries, and as it turned out, there was not much entertainment there. The man's personal office is located just above the classroom in which they are located. The hero climbed down the outer wall to find himself on another floor. He also sometimes needs his own space, so he did what he should have done in the first place, and considering how much he wanted to see each other, this is quite normal. In fact, the boy was very worried, although he tried not to show it so as not to become a laughingstock. It seems that we are talking about Simon's activities during the holidays and what happened between them. The girl really likes the Duke, and this cannot but be logical considering how handsome and smart he is. The man himself also loves his friend very much, whom he cannot help but treasure. More than once, the thought was in his head that the maiden's heart would be shaken because of Simon's kindness. The hero knew that he could not let the lady go and would continue to look for ways to keep her heart close. The lady again tries to calm the blonde, but he refuses. He can survive everything without sympathy, which in fact does not mean that much to a soul that secretly yearns for better. Louise has always been kind to the young man and never tried to hurt him on purpose, but she does not want to let the lady go, and bending down kisses him, talking about how much she loves and how this will never end. Of course, the heroine will allow the guy to kiss her until the last moment, making sure that both are happy, only for themselves. This time, she even takes the first step towards him. Now the prince would like to ask for one special favor that only this girl who is the best can bring into reality. He wants to receive her blessing. Ian was an exception from the very beginning and was so noble that no one dared to stop him officially. Only the high priest and his parents could do this. When Oddmonial was little, people around him often did the same thing, but now you can't expect that the beloved must do it for those who decided to forget about their obligations. In fact, the hero used to be jealous of people who regularly exchanged blessings. The blonde nods her head, promising that she will do exactly what is required of her. Now the prince can ask the girl for this whenever his heart desires. She believes that only happiness awaits Ian, which he deserves like no one else in this world. For her help, the housekeeper gave the girl a basket full of grapes. They are so sweet that they even melt in your mouth, so you just want to treat the entire student council at the meeting. A man with bright hair appeared ahead. The hero of course agreed to the offer of food because fruit can never be superfluous, yet the appearance is very familiar, so the lady cannot forget about it. The girl realized only after a while that this was Sir Hesse, who smiling introduced himself as Rosewood. He quietly spoke about a secret mission, during which he even had to change his appearance for some time. The blonde would like to know what the purpose of this man's mission is. Is it because His Highness is currently under the surveillance of officials or something else? Hesse really doesn't trust anyone and doesn't seem to intend to. There is at least one who can be trusted, given that he is now Rose and not the one who constantly accompanies the prince. Still, the man should have thought about trying on a standard men's uniform because most likely it would suit him even better than this school skirt. Since Hesse had already had experience wearing it in the past, he certainly doesn't intend to do something like that again because he doesn't think it's a good idea. He studied at the academy for some time, but then quit without finishing his studies. No matter how you look at it, everything is perfect. Beautiful curled eyelashes, rosy cheeks look extremely natural, and only if you look closely you can see barely noticeable scars. Of course, the hero is having fun with Louise, but he asks her to stop touching her face in an attempt to understand what is going on. If the lady annoys him, he will have to greatly regret his feminine appearance. The virgin quickly jumps back, saying that this will not happen again. The young man usually ties his hair the same way as now, but this time he asked for a favor from another person. Duke Hillard was the one who helped. He didn't even faint, but simply promised that he would help. It seems that the guy was happy to work with what he got in the end. Louise is grabbed and they jump to the side. The girl does not immediately understand what the problem is, but after a few moments she hears familiar voices, which she cannot immediately recognize. Claire is standing there, who is even slightly visible from the shelter in which they found themselves. They are talking about what was said earlier, about something that only the two of them know. Obviously, this is the secret that they talked about earlier. The young man did not agree with this, and now does not understand why everything brought him here. The man standing next to him turned out to be Dean, with a dissatisfied expression on his face. He turns away because he is almost in a rage. It looks as if Sweeney is eavesdropping on a secret conversation that is forbidden for anyone to hear. The blonde says that he will not give his consent until her fiancé also stops, because this is the only way to be honest. Nothing concerns the boy anymore because a wedding is one thing, but a kiss is another. I would like to know what the lady would have done if Dean had not kissed her that evening in front of another person. Claire and her fiancé were at the event who did not object. When she said that she would leave first, kissing the beauty on the cheek, he asks to be careful and wait in the room after everything is over. The lady knew very well that the young man would never be faithful to her. She was already wondering what kind of affair and with whom she would be able to find out the next morning, not that this marriage was concluded for love. So there was no choice. Everything was decided by the girl's brothers, so all that remained was to simply accept in silence. Despite the similar behavior of the count who would become her husband, his parents were quite decent, nice people. They promised Iris's family the best and even signed an agreement allowing them to manage the family business. But a friend who appeared behind them and asked if the friend was already going home so early was torn from strange thoughts. The guy jokingly remarks that he needs to drink less, but the lady replies in the same spirit because the hero is not even allowed to drink yet. If you look at it this way, even though Dean is younger, he has grown a lot lately, and this is becoming more and more noticeable. Iris believes that the young man was too cute as a child, but something has darkened very much. Nuna saw something cute somewhere, but it seems that in this case there is no point in trying to say something. There is no need to use an acquaintance for self-affirmation, which failed. Claire laughs, not understanding what the problem is because after everything that happened, she was still called Nuna, which indicates a better ending. Dean turned to shout jokingly, but suddenly there was a fire in his eyes and his fingers curled around his wrist. They were going to go somewhere for a walk, but so far he couldn't explain what was what. The lady shouldn't be so noisy, even if her feelings hidden inside can also be quite understandable. She no longer resists continuing to calmly follow her childhood friend, who is becoming more insistent from time to time. There is a groom standing on the balcony who is in full swing, kissing some girl. Noticing the gaze, he looks back and then defiantly turns away and continues. Even though everything was known, something like this goes beyond all boundaries. Dean's voice is heard, which seems to distract him a little from what is happening. He turns to kiss the beauty who froze while blinking his eyes in surprise. The girl always took care of the guy, and finally, when such an opportunity came up, everything became completely different. The groom does not value her at all, so it is unclear why try to do something else pretending that it is important. If the woman had not kissed the man, perhaps he could have taken advantage of the situation, but there is nothing that can be done now given the options that are basically offered. Claire must not forget that if she doesn't benefit, then someone else will too. She can't continually lose by being somewhere behind the list and hurting herself. By publicly humiliating the girl in front of others, that person did not deserve anything at all, but the beauty was silent because she knew that she could later use this for her own purposes. It was better to be patient so that everything would work out. Claire recognized that look from Dean, who seemed to be screaming, asking if the lady was serious. A selfish and calculating adult was behaving exactly the way she shouldn't. She was ready to sacrifice everything for her goal. The hero says that he understood everything that they tried to convey to him. His friend says that everything needs to be used for his own purposes. She can use a friend to lower the vigilance of that scoundrel and moderate his ardor. Dean can't say anything more, because judging by what the lady says, this is absolutely not what she needs. It's scary to imagine what will happen next, but this is perhaps fate that cannot be changed. Louise is ready to cry because she overheard someone else's secret and didn't even apologize for it. It would be much better to pretend that nothing happened, but knowing what happened to her friend, the blonde probably won't find the strength to remain silent. The girl claps her hands to attract the attention of the meeting. She thanks them for agreeing to meet. As you know, at the request of officials, a record of His Highness is being kept, and the Academy took on this to reveal the best sides. Dean is not silent, assenting because he himself understands what the beauty is. Leading to their Academy wanted to advertise itself in such a way that they are the best because of the future ruler of the country living and studying here. This period can be called the Golden Age because a wide range of items is provided, and the number of books is not inferior even to the Imperial Palace. It was decided to use Ian's attention for the best selfish purposes. Although it was an accident, His Highness encountered a kissing couple. Fortunately, their names were not revealed, but the director was most likely unpleasant to learn about what happened. The man discussed this issue in detail with Claire and asked to share with the rest of the students that if something is planned or they are in a relationship, the best solution would be to quietly warn, but most importantly, in advance. The brunette noticed that Louise didn't look very good from the very beginning of the meeting, as if she was bored with everything. You shouldn't look at the girl with that look because it's so inquisitive that it's impossible to just remain silent. The heroine is tormented by her conscience, but Iris says that she didn't mean anything like that. Ultimately, the director makes the decisions, but if the lady suddenly wants to talk, her friend is happy to listen. The girl will eventually give up. She doesn't mind telling what's going on, but unfortunately there's a complete mess in her head. If we're talking about love affairs, then it's the same with Claire, even though she's engaged. The family chose the lady who would be an excellent match, but she liked one young man perhaps because he was too close. The lady did not perceive him at all as a man, until just then. It doesn't seem that the girl is angry with the person and is trying to say something, but she is just disappointed in herself. She has to reassure Louise, noting that she is quite taking into account. We can say that everything is in order. The friend already knows that Dean is so close that he cannot be seen properly without stepping on the same rake, thereby repeating his mistake from the past. The beauty can only be offended by herself. The moment of the kiss was truly magical, and then for the first time in a long time, the lady felt truly happy. She asks Sweeney to just hug her. The girl is already talking to the prince for some reason. He did not think that these rules would quickly reach the lady, and at this rate it was not entirely expected. We are talking about the ban on kissing next to a man. In fact, until the imprinting ends, any temptations must be excluded so that nothing happens, and everything about this is already clear. The blonde snorts when he thinks about what is happening if they were forbidden. This does not mean that they can do something like that without supervision. Louise agrees because most likely other students will hide in every possible way. There are very few suitable places, but they still exist in order to retire in peace. Stopping his hand near the lady's face, Krond persistently asks where they are still located. The girl cannot help but be shocked by such actions, so she also recoils a little. Ian smiles, noting that he did nothing to make the lady swim so quickly. This is unacceptable in front of His Highness, and officials can show up at any moment. Nothing will happen. But if only the heroine was a little less afraid of the guy, it would be much easier. Leaning closer, the hero merges with Louise in a kiss. He missed being close, but something completely different attracts attention. The bushes rustle behind, and it seems that there is some person there who is watching. The one standing turned out to be a young official. Sweeney is already starting to worry, but he shows a gesture of silence. Perhaps this only means that everything that happens here will be kept secret. The man pulls away, asking what the problem is. He seems to have realized that his kisses are not good enough to fully gain attention. The girl has no idea how to admit to her face that they were caught by an official who will create something unknown out of this shot. All that remains is to apologize for how everything happened before. The hero asks to let him know what is being done wrong so that he can try harder. His Highness does not understand that the problem is completely different. If this continues, the lady will be known in history as the girl who secretly kissed His Highness. She must immediately meet with that official. Hesse asks Louise from the greenhouse what she needs from the civil servants. He realized that something is wrong, because she has been circling in front of their noses all day. It seems that everything was so obvious that even the students began to whisper, "There is no need to delay anymore, so the lady wants to ask something and it will be important." Officials always stick together, and only in one case do they take turns on duty, and the lady knows very well when this happens. The heir is sleeping, and only then are they separated so that the other person can sleep. Hesse is about to leave and asks not to tell the man that the servant came in a little earlier. Louise nodded, but it seemed that she did not fully understand what they were trying to convey to her. She went to that person so that she could finally talk to him fully. Surely we are talking about what the young man captured today, but that gesture in the bushes meant that he would keep a secret. The man was going to ruin both of their lives. If something bigger happens, they won't be able to not fit it in, but for now everything is under control. Virgo is a little embarrassed about how things are going so far. His Highness will never be recorded next to Louise Sweeney. These words make one feel strange, as if it was not said with good intentions. You don't need to think twice to understand that it's quite easy for a man to change the subject, but it's strange that there's no anger present. Obviously, the girl is already used to it. This is because the lady is not from a noble family and has no status. The name has no significance in history, and the lady has no value in society. There was not a drop of malice in his words, because this was the opinion that he formed about her personally, most likely based on his convictions. There would be nothing to answer now, so there are no options left. The Marquis met with His Majesty. He believes that it is impossible to interfere in his affairs, but as the president of the student council, the guy simply cannot stay away. The boy's duty is to take care of the students while they are away from their parents and make it easier for them when the parent arrives. The blonde can be free. This is not true, because since they are still on the academy grounds for now, there are still a few unfinished business that need to be completed. Now the man's daughter is involved in a scandal with a non-existent young man, which needs to be hushed up as quickly as possible so as not to get into even more trouble. Obviously, the lady's choice is so displeasing to the father, even though the guy is not bad. The prince asks to refrain from hasty decisions so as not to do something wrong. It is already known that the scandal was documented, but the names were not revealed. If it is seen that the young marquise left the academy immediately after the scandal, questions may arise. If you don't want to leave any traces behind, the best thing to do is to cancel your expulsion, and this does not contradict the rules of the academy, so it's only better. Still, this option may cause inconvenience, but in this case you can always take an academic leave, which will not cause any problems. It looks like the man continues to insist the council can proceed with the annulment right now, and then all the necessary documents can be obtained in the room. Opening the door to the student council, the man leads the girl's father there, and she almost immediately jumps up from her seat surprised. Burgess demands that all Teresa's enrollment certificates be handed over to him immediately. If we are talking about documentation, then there will be no problems. The girl will immediately return home without delay. The maid is already waiting outside, so no one is left with a choice. The lady sitting at the table says that access to documents is limited. She asks for forgiveness, but a wave of anger begins, which brings only damage. Teresa refuses to take back her documents, but this right belongs only to her, so it seems there is no choice but to stay. The lady's birthday is past, and it was yesterday, which means that from today, the lady no longer needs the approval of the guardian. Now the heroine has the exclusive right to fill out and sign this cancellation document, and this will not be a problem. It seems that His Highness pulled all this off while the Marquis was detained in the office for several tens of minutes. Now there are no more options left at all. Technically, this was not Ian's doing because the student council helped him in this. They could not lose Teresa and deprive her of a bright future which still needs to be earned. While Burgess is studying at the academy, she will be given the necessary support, and in the future she will be able to clear her name with honest service. It's finally over. It was quite tense, which made me feel a little uneasy. Now everything will depend only on them. The council did even more work than Crond expected. Louise used the authority of the president to check the visitor book and learned about the marquise. The first thing I had to do was go to the girl so that she could decide what to do with the documents, as she was afraid that the marquis would try to take her back to the estate. Now Claire understands why His Highness values Louise so much. She is an excellent worker, and even if her friend begs, she will not give her friend up for anything. Today is the last day that the officials are at the academy, so all that remains is to accept it and keep going until they leave. One of them appeared first, and then the second appeared. They heard that His Highness was involved in the Marquis's arrival at the academy, so they want to talk about it. The girl stayed in the corridor with the blonde while the hero left. The acquaintance chuckles, wondering if he should write down what is happening. Apparently, the lady is so keen to leave her name with the prince that she constantly makes a fuss when in his company and makes no attempt to hide it. The lady does not do this for such purposes. She says frankly that she does not care what will happen next. Then one realization actually came to mind. All the same, a trace will be left in the records because in the end, it cannot be done without it. There is already enough there, and he and Ian have a strong influence on each other. Since childhood, the couple have been best friends and they have always been together. You can even hide it, even cross it out, but it will spill out. There is not a hint of this left, and the man speaks about it directly, even if it is clear from him that he is nervous. There is nothing left in the notes. The blonde knows everything well. If there are no records about a person, it does not mean that he did not exist, and ultimately this will be proven. There are many more uncaptured moments than captured ones, especially considering that they are closely related to each other. Even if there is no name, the lady will be closely woven into the story, which means Sweeney will also be one of the famous people who was featured. As long as Ian remains on the record, it will be inevitable that Louise must have caused the man a lot of trouble, and seems to be aware that she is a negative element. Considering that my lord treated the girl, there can be no talk of a positive influence. The official should already understand where this conversation is leading. The hero does not give up. He will not write about his friend, and then the opportunity will arise to see who will eventually notice Louise's presence in history. These records are protected by special magic, and they can only be read in 100 years. So there is hardly any need to argue, since none of them will ever know what really happened around them. His Highness stands in front of the door, wondering if those two have finished their conversations. It seems that now it is finally possible to leave the room. The young man's fiancée does not know how to lose, and the courtyard is full of nasal officials. The man is not one of those who forces you to write down what he wants, but he would like it to be written that at that moment he fell in love with Louise again. The brunette wasn't the type of officer to write down what they were told, but this moment simply couldn't help but be recorded given the way things were going. By the time these notes are read, the guy will already be an old man, so they fit just perfectly. The officials finally returned to the palace, and the academy's school year began relatively smoothly, as originally planned. Of course, Stella was absent for a week, as they had warned about it, but then she also returned back. She was the one who was supposed to become the main character of the novel. We can only hope that everything will be okay during the holidays. The shame of the Lapis family was revealed to the world, and in the original there was a chapter where, using this excuse, everyone poisoned the girl. Memories about the book come on their own. The girl did everything to get the main character out of school and behaved completely inappropriately, trying to make everything worse. In any case, the finest hour was only on sheets of paper. The current Louise is not going to do anything bad and will pass more than calmly. It seems that everything turned out to be more than okay with Stella. She is sitting in her office and writing something no one will bother her, if not Sweeney, who has become different. The distance between friends is exactly what it should be. They could never hope for sincerity between themselves, so they will just have to accept it. Even if the story later follows the original and something happens between Ian and Lapis, it's better just not to think about it, so as not to start getting depressed. From behind, you can hear Louise's remarks about the book, but since it is not the blonde who is doing this, it is strange some two girls are mocking the main character. Everything is exactly like in the novel, and this even makes it a little scary in the end. Everything should be exactly like this, but you should also stay away from this place. The heroine begins to realize with horror what is happening. Unfortunately, it is as if she is being deliberately drawn into this story, without leaving any real choice. Larson talks to Lapis, who with her head down agrees to everything. This semester she must show herself well, so that unnecessary problems do not arise. Although the girl's family has taken a path of no return, the girl will still be able to turn this situation around to her benefit, literally saving her future. The woman grabs the chin of the beauty, who seems to have stopped listening a long time ago. She should understand that there is no one else left, except Juliana. The brunette carefully paved the way to victory, although in the end, it was all in vain. Nevertheless, she believes in superiority, and is not going to retreat. The red-haired girl was frightened by such pressure, but she realized that she could only justify herself. It was strange that after she had nothing left, the professor needed something else. In any case, the lady needs an excellent student who can justify his price. On the way in the corridor, the lady was pushed again by some student. The girl falls to the floor, and while they mock her, says that she herself did not notice where she was going to go, so she apologizes. Louise's hairstyle can be seen in the distance. It seems that she saw everything this time too, because there is a look of stunnedness in her eyes. She probably thinks that everything that happened is logical after all. The girl has been bothering Sweeney for a long time, so there is no question what thoughts the beauty has about her on a regular basis. Perhaps the lady could show kindness again. Stella doesn't want everything to be great because it's better for the lady to hate her. If you think about it, before all the heroine cared about was only her academic performance, and she never inspected the academy. The lady understands that she needs to return to the hostel as soon as possible. An old room where the greenhouse used to be located catches her eye. Before leaving, the decision was made to inspect the room, which immediately brings back memories of how a friend promised to share fresh strawberries. The girl, of course, cannot forget something so wonderful, but since then, she has caused Sweeney nothing but trouble. Trying harder was a mistake because in the end, nothing worked at first. The only thing one could think about was more effort that needed to be put in. In her attempts to escape from her own thoughts and consciousness, the beauty herself did not notice how she knocked over a lantern which flew to the ground and broke. A bright fire flares up, which the girl did not want from the very beginning. She is frightened by what awaits next, because this place was something special. Professor Wayne appears behind him. He asks what happened, and there just doesn't seem to be an iota of concern in the words. The girl understands that troubles have overtaken her again, from which she will now not be able to get rid of. She is worried because with her everything always goes wrong. Stella leaves no opportunity to correct her mistakes and constantly disappoints everyone. She wants to cry, but then they ask her if she is okay. The hero is not going to reprimand the student because she didn't really do anything. The miss cannot think that something is more important than her safety. Having just been considered more important than anything else for the first time, the lady climbs onto her back and feels a warmth that she has never felt before in her life. For the first time, someone showed kindness that helped my heart melt. For some reason, unwanted tears rolled down my cheeks and made me clench. Rumors spread very quickly. Many said that the recent fire in the greenhouse was the work of Lapis, who could not come to terms with it. The dean was only scolding Professor Wayne, and the real criminal, it seems, was simply hiding in the shadows somewhere where no one was able to notice her. Events take place exactly as in the original, and the matter has gained serious momentum. Louise cannot stop thinking about it constantly. The girl thought that if she did not utter a single bad word, the situation from the novel would not repeat itself, but everyone began to bully Stella instead of the heroine herself. Moreover, it wasn't even the red-haired woman's fault. Her father was supposed to take care of the affairs of the estate for her, and the fact that things turned out this way for her was too much. In the original story, Ian figured everything out and solved the situation, but now the heroine has no one at all, so we can consider it a literal failure. For some reason, Sweeney feels guilty. She is determined to find out the truth, and all because she turned her back on someone who needs help and ran away. As a person who knows morality, the Virgin needs to come up with some kind of backup option that may well work. A jar is placed on the table which must be given to Simon. Crond wants to send lemonade to his cousin because the flu is already rampant on campus. If a lady brings the jar, he will accept it without even blinking an eye, although he will not be delighted. If someone else brought the drink, Hillard still wouldn't drink it, and it would only be a matter of time before he caught a cold under the current conditions. The girl reluctantly agreed because she realized that this was important. At the same time, she could ask what kind of party the man wanted for his birthday. For some reason, no one eats what they like in their day, and in the end, nothing turns out the way they wanted in the first place. The heroine has long realized that at any moment she can change and become that same villain, no matter how honed the villainous skills that Louise possesses. Even she would despair when she found herself in a typical evil witch and knight on a white horse setting. If the lady suddenly loses her mind, everything will go according to the original scenario. Everything that she has avoided until this moment will not be enough. I don't want everything to go back to basics because it's not clear whether the current Stella and the heroine herself will be okay after this. It is extremely difficult to understand what is happening, but perhaps the lady will be able to cope with all this without changing the course of history even more. The girl notices a friend and some girl standing nearby. She has no idea who it is, and who will stand up for the heroine, who is now like a defenseless kitten. The lady doesn't think for a long time, so she runs up from behind and rushes at the person so that she doesn't get in the way, and she begins to be indignant. At the same time, the villainess manages to push the red-haired woman down the stairs. The blonde freezes with expressed horror that cannot be hidden. The heirs of other families victims of the corruption of the Lapis family began to persecute her a long time ago, and Louise was at the head. Stella's notes were constantly spoiled, and due to misunderstandings in class, she was faced with problems one after another that did not go away. Due to false rumors, and not only fingers were pointed at the girl, she unfortunately was tired of the constant bullying. One day someone pushed a lady down the stairs, tearing her clothes to shreds. The blonde was nearby, so all suspicions fell on her. Of course, the fall was just an accident, but this time, no one believed the heroine's words, even if she vehemently insisted that she was not guilty. Now the lady is also standing on top and thinking about what to do. Her legs do not move because of fear, and she does not understand whether she can even be blamed for this story. Obviously, everything went according to the original scenario, and this is sad because now no one will believe it. The lady standing behind asks if Louise is okay because she seems to be very scared. The teachers had already called the nurse to check on Lapis. The student council president arrived just in time to ask what was going on. The girl assures that she has nothing to do with it and receives pats on the head. No one will doubt this because the lady is one of those who will not do such a thing. The lady doesn't understand how this is even possible. She was asked to testify tomorrow, so it's worth writing down the answers in advance. I don't even have a clue where to start because they bullied Stella and the girl did not intervene out of fear so as not to face the events of the original. The girl knew that it was not worth doing this and that it was more than stupid. She only cowardly hid and covered herself with a story. His Highness says that his bride has completely rebelled. He has been sitting behind on the windowsill. It seems from the very beginning. The maiden must have been shocked by what happened, so the young man came to console her. She has been looking exhausted lately. The hero felt earlier that something was wrong and therefore could not help but worry. Although he has questions, he can wait with them. It is clear that it is always better to wait to see what Louise has to say, who usually has nothing to do with this. Just a moment ago, the lady was depressed and angry, but the person in front of her didn't have that cold and contemptuous look like in the original. The girl must finally talk about what she was afraid of and what she hid over and over again, hoping that one day it would not happen. In truth, His Highness was known before the meeting because the heroine, as it turned out, read the future. A prophecy is a little different. The hero will probably think that his friend is crazy for saying strange things, but that's not the case. The only joy for the girl in her past life was reading a story in which the main loved another person. The girl met the prince in the book, although all she could do was observe, but the reader sincerely liked him. The future was written, but now it is not clear how Louise moved from another world to this one, and now lives here. The girl initially existed, but one day opening her eyes, she realized that she was in her place, and suddenly the body became different. This happened long before they even met, when both were at an early age and did not understand what was what. All this time the heroine lied to the president, although she herself did not want it. She is not the real Sweeney, but just a fake. All the feelings that the young man experiences are connected only with the lady who is sitting next to him, and he is not going to give it up. She and Ian have a strong influence on each other, and Louise herself spoke about this not so long ago to the official. The conversation had been overheard even earlier. He couldn't imagine why the girl was so vehemently trying to draw a line between this one and the other one. In ancient religions, the soul and body are not separated and remain together from beginning to end, no matter how things turn out. If the soul disappeared, the body would certainly disintegrate, but it is healthy. It seems that nothing has changed. As far as the lady knew, in that future, Louise was mean, so there was certainly no reason to love her. You can't tell from the current girl that anything could happen. She doesn't want to become the villain from the original. If the blonde hadn't changed her ways, Stella wouldn't have become who she is now, and now she's understood a little more. It seems that all this time the image from the future was haunting her, and she was so worried that she was always ready for it. Instead of being close to the man, she spent the entire time as if her sincere happiness was about to be destroyed. Louise has nothing to fear, and now she is next to someone who truly loves her, and someone who will never do anything against her. Those happy moments and those surrounding people cannot be an illusion that will dissolve, so there is no point in worrying. The original had long since remained forgotten on a shelf in its own binding, and now a new story had begun. The girl understands this only now. In the end, it is she who determines who she should be and why in order to make her dreams come true. The reason why no one doubted the girl was too obvious, because there is no other personality and no other person. At this moment, I had to realize that deep inside the heroine, the villain remained only a dim shadow of the past. The heroine looks at the last remaining pudding, which looks too wonderful not to eat. Claire has never tried this dessert, so Dean has no right to take it away. The girl has not been seen yet, so perhaps she even got sick. It is believed that nothing bad should have happened because she is actually just busy, or something like that. Kratos doesn't know yet, but her friend is in the hospital today. Because of a cold, the blonde can hand over the sheet that will come from the president, and yes, it will be him. The blonde says goodbye. She has no classes today, and the pudding also needs to be handed over, so she will be the one to go to Claire. The hero smiles, saying that the girl cannot. Since she is obliged to stay and sort the invitations, he is obviously trying to make friends. Since things turned out this way, we can only assume that Kratos will be the one to go, even if he doesn't want to. Dean sits down on a chair in the infirmary and hears that the lady is okay. He was about to ask, but she beat him to it. A small cold will never be terrible. The heroine's forehead is hot like the sun, and other symptoms are also present. The cough and fever remained together, but everything else was fine. Claire still didn't eat because the severe pain in her throat wouldn't allow it. The brunette was cold under a blanket as thin as hers, but she thought that everything would be fine, even like that. The summer pajamas that the beauty is wearing are also completely inappropriate, but again she did not see any problems with what she had. Dean immediately orders him to change clothes and go to bed. He takes the blanket in order to give him a more reliable option. The thing that Dean handed over turned out to be his, and even if the lady doesn't like it, she is still obliged to use it. The girl wrapped herself up and covered herself with a smile on her face. She notices that she is now much warmer and now nothing is scary. The next step is the food that the young man brought, as well as taking the medicines that are already on the bedside table nearby. The boy acts too caring, as if he was very worried, but instead he does not say anything directly but does what is necessary. Critis justifies everything by the fact that Louise asked him. She repeated as if wound up that she needed to give Claire everything she needed. Perhaps the warmth and care is felt because Nuna is sick, or because everything was exactly the same in childhood. The girl was also cute in the past, and it sounds like she is ugly now. To some extent she agrees because her hair is dark, and it has become harder to choose dresses. Laying down under the blanket, the beauty smiles, listening to everything that is said to her, and also tries to start a dialogue which has already gone in the wrong direction. The girl is beautiful in any form, and the only one who does not behave as she should is her fiancé, who is completely not the one she needs. The hero thinks that he sounds pathetic, but that's enough for him. The girl denies because Dean is right and also looks like the one who is the best. Claire looks straight into the light eyes, saying that they can kiss if she doesn't want it, then she doesn't have to. But she agrees. It will be quite awkward to do this, and besides, the guy might catch a cold, but it seems that even this will not stop him. He is saddened by the realization that his actions cause pain, which makes his heart clench over and over again. Dean is one of the most beautiful memories that remains in the heart forever. It feels like a maiden is doing something wrong. As soon as Iris grew up, she was forced into an engagement and she tried to fight the restrictions that eventually tied her legs and arms too. The man promises that he will be there for you even if it is difficult. No matter how much of a mess it all turns out to be, nothing will change. Claire can use her lover to get out of the network she has fallen into in her own family. Lapis woke up and quickly realized that she was in the infirmary. All that she remembered was the frightened face of Louise, who was almost crying. Larson was nearby and, smiling, said that she was glad that her ward was feeling better. She definitely came for a reason. They are looking for Wayne Hill, and therefore asked the first student they came across in the form of Sweeney Hewitt is there, but so far there has been no explanation. The girl enters the office, where Juliana meets her. She looks with a skeptical look that does not change. Of course, it was clear that Louise lacked manners, but she could not even imagine that she would forget to properly greet the elder. The heroine was only going to stay in class for a while, and the professor doesn't want to drag things out, so it's better to get straight to the point. Today, Stella will submit her final application as her guardian. The lady has already witnessed everything that happened and is collecting more information. In addition to Louise, another student submitted an application who also did not want to remain on the sidelines while he had the opportunity to speak out. The other student that the lady points out will be the one they talk to. He is the bully because he bullied Stella in the hall. It almost became clear in advance that the responsibility for what happened lies entirely with Louise, who did not expect such a turn of events. Academy rules require a student to be informed before a guardian involves them in an incident, and I think Stella said it was Sweeney. The decision of the victim's sponsor is to inform the girl's parents as quickly as possible. It would be better to ask permission from the dean, but the lady only wants to send the notice earlier so that the matter does not drag on. Since it will not be possible to notify the boss in person, she will have to send him a letter. As soon as Sweeney finishes reading, she is obliged to return the document back. As always, Juliana said she hopes that the student she hates can finally understand what shame is to the fullest. It is also clear that the woman despises the main character, and she cannot do absolutely anything about it since her strength has run out. They want to throw Louise out of the academy and also make sure that society treats her with prejudice. There is no point in constantly pursuing the child like this. She just wants to live her life, which will be calm for once. Of course, it's definitely not the girl's fault, but knowledge has weight in this world, just like knowledge that can act correctly. The girl does not understand the structure of this world when it comes to a beautiful pedigree. Nobility is the suppression of personal feelings and choice. The higher ones have the privilege of rebuilding the country. It would be wrong if you mix several bloods that are not even 100% noble. The feeling of déjà vu makes her lungs shrink over and over again. The girl remembers how the official told her that such a person could be with the prince. Even so, the professor does not have the right to simply refuse. Without any questions, she must listen to the student before making decisions. Juliana begins to get angry because she thought that she would be able to drive at least a little sense into her head and make the lady start to think. The woman would not mind even if the end of the case meant the murder of the girl and her family. Such words cut too hard on the ears, making them afraid. It is better to do as the professor says so as not to get what she deserves. After all, she is obliged to protect her family. The girl wants to say something but hesitates as the door opens sharply and Stella appears on the threshold. Finally, Lapis has arrived, and it seems that she has successfully finished writing her complaint, which can now be officially submitted. After looking at her friend only for a moment, the beauty told the professor that she wrote exactly as they had agreed, and now it seems there will be no problems. Again, the moment when the maiden woke up and was told how glad it was that her condition had improved, it seemed that Larson needed something, otherwise she would not have behaved like that. The lady slept for a long time, so I even had to start thinking about contacting the temple. The girl is grateful, but she thinks that she is completely fine. Red-haired needs to write a statement, and this is because the situation needs clarification. After writing it will be provided to the dean. It will not be difficult to write the truth because you just need to describe everything that happened once. Now it will be questionable whether Louise is expelled from the academy, but it seems that this is too much. The girl turns away to say that she is not sure that this is the right move. She does not want to hurt anyone. No one gets hurt, and it might even be beneficial anyway. The truth is that Sweeney was the one who pushed the girl down the stairs. The beauty needs to rest a little more. It will be a waste of the professor's time, but she is very grateful for the hospitality. The maid who is in the estate asks to check everything again so that no questions arise, because she is not responsible for what is lost. Beautiful pink flowers attract her attention. She seems to have seen them before, but doesn't remember where exactly they were. The red-haired girl took the pot going into the corridor. She thinks about who gave it, and if you think about it, even its appearance is not entirely known. Freezing, the heroine realizes that the flowers were from the greenhouse. She heard that it was still being repaired since there was too much damage there. It's better to go to that place for a little distraction, although problems may arise if you meet Professor Larson along the way. The lady was about to go back to the library, but she met Wayne Hill. He was interested in how the student standing next to her was feeling. The man expected that the damage in the greenhouse would be much more significant, but this did not happen, so he can be happy. The worries come earlier, because it seems as if Lapis is being robbed of too much of her free time. The girl actually came with a purpose because she was going to find out what kind of flower it was, which she brought with her in her hands. This is a beautiful clematis that blooms. If it is a gift, then the girl has a wonderful friend who takes care of her. Since the lady did not see the flower pot from the outside, perhaps it blooms at a certain temperature. Unfortunately, that is all she saw. Wayne offers to go where Miss Lapis's curiosity leads. Of course, they can't do this if the heroine has lessons. Relief that there are no classes. So the professor is about to leave. Obviously, he is completely unaware of what happened. The hero looks excited, and you can tell that he is thoroughly enjoying teaching what he loves with all his heart. Larson appeared ahead. The professor asks the student to wait while he answers questions about preparation. The dean is looking forward to everything, so perfection is important. The Larson family will also be at the event, so this will be a great opportunity. The man laughs easily. Even if it is unpleasant for him, he believes that a wonderful chance is really worth trying, since there may not be others. Watching the professor leave, the hero nods goodbye and then quickly apologizes to Stella for rushing to the shelter. They can go further because the place where it is worth going is very close to where they are now. The heroine is still a little worried because she was almost caught. She thanks the man for hiding her from Juliana. There was just no need for Miss Lapis to get into trouble. That's all because, in fact, you can't want the worst. The Virgin was simply curious to know about the flower, but now she crosses over the hummocks and wanders somewhere, not understanding where or how. The offer to hold hands would be inappropriate, so the hero holds out his sleeve, which can be held on to make it easier to walk. The professor acts too timid, but when asked, he begins to laugh as if he is unpleasant and smiles again. The girl knew that they were coming to find out about the flower, but in return she saw a clearing of exactly the same ones. If the lady had asked to bring a bouquet, they would have brought it to her. Many things are difficult to do, but there are people who should and who actually do it because they want to. In fact, the name of the flower did not matter at all because Stella wanted to know what the person who brought the gift to the ward thought about her. The girl always wanted to be a good person, but for some reason she moves further and further away from this and remains a villain. An acquaintance assures that Lapis does not have to be good. She is already doing everything in her power, and everyone can try to respond kindly in return. A person like a girl usually responds with the same evil to the good that is done to her. The image of Louise pops up in her head. The flower was given with a good wish against the malice that the girl showed. Perhaps for the rest of her life she will not be able to respond with kindness in the opposite way. The red-haired girl does not want to lose the feeling of warmth that she has found and does not want the same for her friend. It is wonderful to reciprocate the feelings of her loved ones. Louise showed what it was like to receive the best, and now all that remains is to repay. The lady nods to the professor, saying that she has written everything that is needed. Everything that was discussed with Julianne means that there is everything bad that she said, but it is not clear why this is now. It is time to create your own story. The brunette needs some proof, and for now that's all she wants to hear. She starts screaming more than ever. A woman is still a girl's only chance to get all the best and also a pass to a normal life. The heroine has always tried to show her worth, but it is up to her to decide how and where to do it. She can see if the lady can stay afloat, given that most likely this will not happen. The Lapis family is already on the verge of collapse. The girl doesn't even know how to make useful connections and benefits, so nothing will work out. The only family that helped despite everything, and even more so, despite the sidelong glances of the others, was the Larson. Nothing bad will happen if the protection stops. The girl wants to learn to be happy with what she has without trying to jump over her head. Swinging, the woman shouts something, and Stella is ready to feel the blow, but Louise crawls forward and receives a slap in the face. If they have different points of view, then something more important can be done. The servant brings a letter in a sealed envelope. This is the very statement that the beauty wrote. It is demonstratively torn right in front of the girl's eyes. The Larson family has a special status in the academy, so all that remains is to choose who Stella wants to fully express herself to. The girl took her friend to the room where she treated her wound. She is angry because the beauty crawled forward to protect her. In fact, the body twitched before the lady realized it, but she ignores it, asking if her friend was going to go over to the professor's side. In fact, the heroine thought that she did not want to be that same puppet who was tired of being pushed around. She would choose her own path. The girl also wants to apologize because, in fact, it was thought that the character could write a statement if he wanted to. There is no need to apologize because the lady understood everything correctly. Without further ado, there are still other things that are more important in this context. The blonde didn't help when her friend was being bullied. She thought about how terrible she was, but was afraid that something would happen, so she stood silently on the sidelines. The only one who must say the cherished words is the red-haired one who is fully aware of the situation in which they find themselves. The girl bends down to hug the beauty and tell her that she shouldn't worry about anything so as not to put unnecessary thoughts into her head. It is not clear whether Sweeney will be forgiven for what he said and did in the past, but this is no less important. Of course, the lady cannot answer in the negative. Miss was found in the room with her friend right while they were talking. Even if the letter was delivered quickly, the girl's mother could not get there so quickly. The girl runs into the corridor and finds herself in front of a huge door. Her thoughts are confused in her head, but her mother should not worry. Before entering, it would be worthwhile to think of what to say next, but the lady unfortunately did not do this. She bowed her head and still opened the door. The blonde shrinks, saying that she can explain everything. In fact, she did nothing and did not try to hurt anyone. A familiar voice is heard which assures that he already knows everything, there will be no problems, and a joyful smile already appears on his face. Mom hugs her daughter, saying that someone like her could never do anything wrong. Now it has become clear that Sir Hesse is here. The brunette tries to continue to play the show, asking him to call her by name or something else. In any case, he arrived as soon as he received the letter. The girl would like to understand what was happening, but there was no time left for explanations because the president was in the room with Larson. Juliana is sure that this is not the mother of the Sweeney family, but the prince is sure that everything was delivered without problems, so there is no point in spinning the problem. The brunette must understand that Krond is not here as the president of the student council because he has some more important mission. The lady is here as the guardian of Stella Lapis, which is exactly what is needed because there are two guardians, the prince and the professor in charge who was there. The man remained calm and even looked normal, but then he noticed a wrapped cheek on which blood was visible after the slap. The president screams worried and asking that the temple be contacted right away. Larson, without changing his face, promises that he will call the nurse as soon as he can. People who are not part of the aristocracy can wait a little longer if this is true. Exactly what about Admoniel, who is the future king? The woman breaks down, starting to scream that this is completely unreasonable. It is obvious that she sees nothing but herself and is worried about something. The countess must know her place, and this was what the guy's mother constantly said. In this case, each of the options can be applied again. The girl cannot help the smile that appears on her face. The unusual way of threatening does not change the situation, so she can only remain silent. The hero heard that the woman is very interested in his bride. They are at the academy, but Krond's duties here were already fulfilled a long time ago. The reason why they are here now can be recognized almost immediately. Louise has been declared a delinquent, and this is not to be joked about. The tricks will never work a second time, so there is no choice as such. Stella is going to write a new application, and this time she will tell the whole truth to the dean without lying. This is not about what will be said there, because according to the brunette, the girl has already written everything she thought. Now the whole situation has really been thoroughly exposed. What is written is full of lies, but in fact, the heroine advises not to throw around unnecessary expressions. She is the countess of this country who served in the academy for years, and it is she who will be believed. An insignificant girl like Louise will not be able to change the course of events, which has already been predetermined by those who stand one step higher. Many members of the teaching staff respect Juliana. There are even those who were previously students of the beauty. Their fame and success are completely achieved only thanks to the help of the Larson family. Everyone knows who they should thank, so they will never turn their back on her. In this place, the lady is like a king. She is inferior in position to the dean, but if there is no influence, Sweeney will never be able to win. A problem came from where it was not expected. The servant in horror reports that the imperial inspection has arrived. Professor Wayne Hill has also arrived. He didn't have the courage to show up earlier, and now he thinks that telling the truth won't be a bad thing. The man decided to confess because he knows that he previously enjoyed false privileges provided by Larson. He wants to give them up.